I didn't want to wait. I wanted to get right to it. Skip the foreplay. I've already said most of what I have to say about Canelo Alvarez leaving the PBC. There's nothing new to add to that conversation. And this is something that was already forecasted. So there are not very many surprises if you've been following this channel. None of this will come as a surprise to you. Shout out to my man Dwayne, que lo que, Toby in the building. There's not a lot that's happening right now that I ain't tell you already was gonna happen. To be honest, a lot of this is not surprising to me, and if you've been following this channel, it won't be surprising to you. That Canelo left, yeah, we seen that coming. That Terrence Crawford's deal with the PBC was limited to just Spence fight, we knew that already. Or I told you that already. I told you that several times. I told you that a second fight between them was not commercially viable, that in all likelihood it won't happen, but he has to sort it out because Errol activated the clause. None of this is new news. And in truth, because I've said all of this so many times, I'm a little bit bored with the subject and I would prefer to talk about something else. But because this is the hot story right now, I got to talk about it. Shout out to Mr. T. Shout out to Smokey, Mommy, and Q. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do it a little different tonight, y'all. Shout out to my man Nando in the building. My man UK Rob in the building. Nando in the building. You know what? I want, this is what I want. I'm going to shoot the link, but unless it's Quentin or Rob, don't click the link. Unless you're Q or UK Throb, don't click the link. The link is for Q and UK Throb. It's not open to the whole panel yet because I want to get some different voices and some different opinions. Tonight's conversation will center around, where did Al Haymon go wrong? Where did the PBC go wrong? What could have been done to avert disaster? Because I look at the PBC as a failed experiment built upon hard feelings, bitterness, ill-gotten gains, poor money management, and poor business practices. And see, Sawab, why would you click the link if I said the link is for Q? The link is for Q and UK Rob. Nah, you can't go to sleep, Rob. Don't start up with that bullshit. You can't go to sleep, bro. You can't sleep, bro. And tribalism, absolutely. Tribalism has a lot to do with how the brand presented itself and how the proponents of the brand treated the brand. The tribalism actually did have a lot to do with how how the brand was marketed. So that's what the conversation is going to center around tonight. And like I said, for me, a big part of the reason why it's failing so miserably and finds itself in the predicament that it's in is because it was built upon bitterness, hard feelings, ill-gotten gains, poor money management, and poor business practices. It's not any one thing. It's actually a series of very bad decisions, plans that were executed poorly, and reputations that were built on what are basically a house of cards. It can all be traced back to one person. But sooner or later, the truth always comes out. So the focus of tonight's conversation, the focus of tonight's show, what I'll be asking several different people on the panel is where do they think the PBC went wrong, and what do they think the PBC could have done to avert disaster? Like I said, I'm going to do it a little bit differently tonight. Got Q in the building. Q, what the fuck? It's Q!
Yo,
Q.
what up? Mic check. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you good, bro. I can hear you good.
Good.
So we already know what's going on. So there's really no need to recap it, right? Because we've already. I feel like it's been talked to death. I don't even want to do videos about it, but because it's a
Hmm.
hot topic, I have to.
Right.
Um, but just where do you think when you look at where the PBC is right now, right? What
Hmm.
do you think they could have done to avert disaster? Because it feels like it's not just one thing. It feels like it's many things. Why do you think they find themselves Napoli? I just said the link is for Q. Like, is people not hearing me? The link is for Q, bro. It's not for everybody. It's for Q. Q, go ahead. What do you think? Where do you think the problems began for them?
Well, I think if you, I mean, it depends on how far you want to go back with it. I think if you want to go back to the root of the cause, I believe that it was two things. I think it was not giving fans the fights they wanted to see in a timely fashion that allowed those fights to become not just maybe one fight that's a one fight deal, but maybe a two or a three fight rematch kind of a situation. And then also paying some of these fighters more than what the fight is actually worth. I think having to pay these high premiums and these high guarantees ultimately hurt their pockets. It forced them to not be able to do all the fights that they should have done, that people were asking for because they couldn't afford to do them once they established those purse minimums. And
Mm,
ultimately, it drove the price of these fighters up so high to where they became inactive. And then now you're not getting the fights you want to see, which leads them to getting, dropped off of these networks.
mm. What do you see for them, given where they are right now? I mean, can they survive this year? Let's just not pussyfoot around. Based
Yeah.
on what's happening, the number of fighters that are leaving, that they lost a major acquisition, which I don't want to spend a lot of time on, but that's where they are. Do you think that they survive this year?
That's tough for me to say because I don't have a schedule. That's the major issue. If I had a schedule, I'd have a better idea, this year if what they're gonna do is gonna be impressive enough, if it's gonna draw enough, how willing are they gonna be to cooperate with other, platforms, cross promotion, things of that nature. So it's hard for me to say definitively whether they make it into 2025 with the situation they're in, but
Mm,
I'm going to say that they will only because I think that they're going to get a long leash as far as leniency from Amazon because they just started that relationship. If this was a
mm.
situation that they had been on a platform for a few years and things were looking bad, then maybe not so much. But because it's just started and they haven't even had a fight yet, I think they'll at least through 2025 they'll be still having fights on Amazon.
Beats, always a pleasure to have you on. You already know what's going on with the PBC, so we don't have to surmise every nook and cranny about that. This conversation is centered around where did they go wrong? Where did the problems begin? In your opinion, where did the problems begin for them?
Um, I was listening to Rick Glazer and Malachi, and basically he was trying to be all the boxers' friend. It seemed like, yeah, this back end money and like Caleb was earning 1 million for fighting terrible opponents, and it didn't prep him to fight Canelo. The inactivity hurt a lot of fighters, and a lot of them just can't be bothered. And yeah, it's there's so many like I could go for days and just hug the mic, and I'm not gonna do that. But
No, honestly, yeah, because what I want to get here is you guys, we all follow the sport closely. We all do. Me, you, Quentin, Hayam. Shout out to Hayam. I'll go to you a little later. And what I'm trying to do is gauge where did the problems begin? Because this is just my opinion. I feel like they were doomed to fail from the very beginning. If when I look at it, right, I'm like, yeah, your plan probably looked good on paper, but it was executed poorly. And a part of how you got all those fighters to leave Golden Boy was by overpaying them, which goes back to what Q said that, well, you paid guys in excess of market value and that made things harder. So when I think about that, it's like, well, how do you get 200 fighters to leave Golden Boy? You
yeah,
offer them big money. Well, where'd the
mhm.
big money come from? Waddle and Reed.
Can I just add this before we go to Ham? What's up, Ham? Um, what was I going to say?
What's up, Phil?
Basically, yeah, when there was the opportunity, like when fighters were inactive, to put them on Top Rank or in the zone, they didn't do that. They just left them on the sideline, and they became depreciating assets. Let me just say
Mm,
that.
mm,
That they should that was a disastrous business model. You know what I mean?
mm. Let me go to Hayam. Hayam, when you see right where the PBC is now as a brand or as a banner, to what would you attribute what looks to be their demise? What finds them in their current situation? What stands out to you the most as the driving force for where they are right now?
So, I'm glad you asked me that question. I'm glad you asked it so precisely. The driving force to me would be Floyd Mayweather's attitude. The reason why I say that is because you're coming into the global boxing market and you have an attitude like I'm the A side. I'm the guy that you need to come see to do all your business with and everything. And PBC took on that model early on. It's immediately once Keith Thurman and Sean Porter were out the door, that fight was like the beginning of the PBC. Once that happened, they started to not want to work with nobody else, and they thought they were hot shit. And you got to come to us for everything. And that Mayweather attitude is what I believe ultimately tanked them overall. They're not going to be able to do business in a global market. How can you isolate yourself in a global market?
Mm,
It's
mm.
ridiculous.
Shout out to Marty. Marty says Nello should have told Al, "I'll fight David on PBC, but pay me 70 mil because nobody wants Charlo versus Nello because it won't sell. But David versus Nello can sell." A very good point that he could have helped to fight the ransom for a huge purse. But the thing is that it's not like Haymon has 70 million to give Canelo Alvarez. And I think that that's what people are not understanding about that situation. They keep talking about the commercial value of the fight, right? What the fight is projected to sell. Before we get there, do you have any money? And what I see is, no, you don't. You don't have money for a Benavidez fight the same way you don't have money for a Charlo fight. You have no money. Now back over to Q. What do you think they could have done differently? If there was anything or at any point in the juncture before we got here, what is it you think they could have done to avert disaster?
Yeah, I think Beats made a great point just a few minutes ago when he said that the inactivity and the reluctancy to allow these fighters to keep their names in the mainstream market by allowing them to fight on other platforms, to take the fights that they should take, even if they have to happen on other people's promotion. That really hurt this situation because if you think about it, a guy that you're confident in that will win the fight, you don't really mind if somebody else pays him once or twice in his career because he's going to come back to you with the belt, with more notoriety, and then you can, piggyback off of that moving forward with the rest of his career because you have him on a long-term contract. And if I'm not mistaken, most people's boxing contract, if you sign a deal with somebody and then you end up having another fight on somebody else's platform, that doesn't even count against your own promotion's contract. It just ends up
Exactly.
extending it. So it's not like you're losing fights with the fighter. I think that that's a great point. And then lastly, I think ultimately it comes back to what we said at the beginning. I think you have to pay these guys what the fight is actually worth, and you have to allow them to see every single number to realize, okay, yeah, I'm asking for 10 million because I think that this fight is big. But when I look at the back, I look at the back end paperwork, I look at the receipts, I look at the gate, I look at the concession, and I see how much all of this stuff costs. Now I'm going to realize, okay, I can't be expecting to make X, Y, and Z for a fight that may not be the biggest, fight on the market, especially during that period of time, whatever it may have been.
Mm.
Can
Beats,
I
what do you
tell you
think?
what he said, and then
Go
give me
ahead,
your
go
answer
ahead.
to that question? I just need to add to that. If Wilder had took that the zone deal in 2019 and knocked AJ out and become undisputed champion, right, he would have done considerable damage to the Matron brand that might not even have recovered up until now. And they could have took all that Saudi work, all that design work, all that landscape around the globe. They could have all that now, but they didn't take it. I didn't think so.
That's
Beats. Peep this though, bro. This is the reason why. Because they were not confident that that's exactly what would happen.
thank
You
you,
have to
Q.
take
Yeah,
risk.
yeah.
Thank
You have
you,
to take
Q.
risk.
This
And
is
if you're
why
not
I've
willing to
been
take the
saying
risk,
they never wanted to put like this is what I've been saying that dog. If you believe in your boy, if you believe in your fighter, and you believe in your brand and the boxer, if you believe in your boxing, Brody, you do what Holyfield did. I'll take that hit. I'll take that short money. You know why? Because I'm gonna knock you out. And
Mhm.
after that, all the money will come. I know I could beat you. I just got to get you in the ring. And Wilder and them treated that situation, which is just one example, like there's nothing after that. They treated it like, yo, why you acting like this is it? Like after this, there's nothing. And I realized, oh shit, you doing that because you're scared you're gonna get knocked out. You're scared you're going to get knocked out, or they're scared that you're going to get knocked out. So you
Mm,
want the most for this risk. You want the most money, which is impractical because you not box office, bro. When they
Mhm.
offered you the 12, you wasn't even on pay-per-view. When they offered you the 12, you was making between 1 and 2 per fight. They
Yep.
gave you 6 times your highest purse. 6 times. How is that not enough for you?
not
mm.
only that, but
And was there an
specifically with that
upside of pay per view with
situation,
that 12 mil? Was
Oh,
there a pay per
I
view
got
upside
something to
with that?
say.
Hold
I
on.
got some.
Sorry.
Beats go, then Q, then higher.
Was there an
Mm,
upside of pay per view with that 12 mil as well? May
No,
I
it was flat. It was
ask
flat.
that?
And
Even so,
it should have been. You're not a pay-per-view fighter. You're not a pay-per-view fighter. You're not. What we supposed to offer a dude that makes between 1 and 2, right? 1 and 2. We already giving you 6 times your highest purse. You don't make this fight and nobody else. That offer made sense. That's all I'm saying. For a dude, you got one belt, homie. My guy got 3 belts, right? You got one. My guy's on pay-per-view in his country. You not, right? So why are we supposed to break the bank for you again?
well, I tell you what, right? It started even before 2019. Sorry about this, Haim, yeah? Right? When AJ fought Charles Martin, right? You do know that Henry Tillman said, we are in negotiation to fight Deontay Wilder before they got that fight. But they let AJ in the game, and it's never changed since. Also, they had a chance to fight Vladimir Klitschko before, like, AJ had a belt. I think even before Tyson Fury had a strap, right?
No,
Could
no,
have been in
yeah,
the
yeah,
game.
yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. What I was gonna say was that that's one example of the same thing. Circa 2014, 2015, right? Bob Arum himself, I saw the interview, it's on video. He expressed an interest. This was just an interest in doing a Pacquiao versus Danny Garcia fight. And, Danny starts carrying on about how he should get whatever man he gets. This was in 2015, bro. 2015.
Mhm.
And that's an example of how Al Heyman's real legacy in the sport is you taught fighters how to fuck themselves out of a lot of money by pretending that they're the A side or by pretending that they have more bargaining power than they actually do because you did it with Wilder. And in that situation before that, you did it with Danny. That Danny's ass should have been snapping at the grass to fight fucking Manny Pacquiao because his name was still worth a lot of money, and
Mhm.
you never even been on pay-per-view, bro. So what I see with these PBC guys is what Al Heyman taught them is to be difficult in negotiations, unagreeable. You taught a bunch of B and C siders to act like they the A side, and all that did was cost them money. That's all it did. You did it to Wilder, you did it to Danny, you did it to Adam Kovnowski, you did it to Luis Ortiz, you did it to Gary Russell. Remember, Gary Russell was offered $1 million to go overseas to fight Josh Warrington, who I think he would have beat, by the
Yep.
way. He
Yep.
would have beat him. And that wasn't good enough. But sitting out inactive, that's better. That's better. On what planet does this make sense that Al, if you don't actually have a fight for Gary, why don't you just let him go? Let him go make that money. You're not doing anything with him. Or is it that Gary didn't want to go? Your guess is as good as mine, but it's a pattern with these guys that nothing is good enough. Nothing is good enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, Gary would have went if Al is his advisor. If Al said, "Look, go overseas," you know what I mean, get that belt and bring it back, Gary would have went.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, let me read the super chat. Shout out to my man Top Rank owns PBC. This show is fire. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Think I got another one right there. You see, let me scroll. Let me scroll because I saw another one. Shout out to my man Fish. What did they do right? They're toxic. Mo washed so much time across the board. Fuck all of them. Grifting idiots ended up grifting themselves. Yeah, I mean, in a manner of speaking, when I think about the company, what it really, its legacy, if it even has one, because most people don't realize that the PBC is the youngest of the outfits. The only other outfit that's younger than the PBC is Boxer, you know? Besides them, the PBC is actually the youngest. We know that Top Rank has been around for decades. Matchroom has been around for decades. Queensbury, Frank Warren, at least, he's been around for a very long time. Golden Boy has actually been around before the PBC, and it's like it burned out very quickly because they were developed, they were made essentially in circa 2013 and 2014. They haven't actually been around all that long, and the feeling that I'm getting is they may burn out, and they may burn out sooner than people think because there's just not enough there. There's not enough there to stay afloat, is what I see. That they can slug along this year, but without the Crawford, without the Canelo, without just the stable, the big fights, and the excitement. Think
I
about
mean,
how think about how the first non-pay-per-view show they're talking about doing is all the way out there in June. Wow.
wow,
June?
wow, that's
Wow.
halfway through the
I
year.
think another thing they probably should have done, y'all, honestly, I think was to have cut their stable, because that's one of the
Yes.
issues that you face when you have 150 to 200 fighters, is that unless you have 40 odd fight dates, you're not going to be able to keep these guys as active as they need to be. And if you're unwilling to allow them to cross the street and take these other fights on other networks and other platforms, then you're just hurting the fighters that you have. You're harvesting them for nothing. I think what they were better off doing was offering them the top fights that were within their own network. Because remember, we're talking about them not fighting guys from other platforms. There's a lot of fights that they didn't even do within their own network.
Exactly.
Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez when they both had a belt.
Yep,
Leo Santa Cruz versus Gary Russell when they both had a belt. Like,
yep.
there's plenty of fights that they
Jarrett
could have
Hurd
done.
versus Jarrett Hurd versus Jermel Charlo. That was one that was
That
right
didn't
there to be
happen.
made. It was
That was
right
a hot
there to be
fight.
made.
That was a hot fight.
Yeah,
So if you do
they
those fights and you say, hey, listen, we're gonna give you this offer. You can do this fight at this number. Here's what we'll do. We'll put it on pay-per-view if we have to. You can make upside if it does well. Awesome. If you don't take it, you can go. You can go somewhere else, and we'll move on to the next guy that wants to take the fights that we actually think will make us some money. That's
yeah,
what they should have
Absolutely.
done.
that's also where they kind of went wrong. Where they went wrong also is that they were signing fighters for long-term deals, but they
Yes.
signing fighters instead of signing fights. Your
Yes.
job is to sign fights. You need to sign what you just said, Charlo versus this guy. You just said Swift.
Uh,
Swift
uh, Jarrett Hurd. Yeah, Jarrett
Jared
Hurd.
Hurd. You
Yeah,
need to sign. You need to sign fights, not you need to sign events, not fighters for long-term contracts. That's that music business foolishness that he wasn't paying.
I
He's
mean, when I
stupid.
when I look at what he did, he treated fighters like music acts. That's really what he did. That whereas to Q's point, you do have to thin out the herd. You can't house them all. You understand? You can't
Yeah,
protect them all. You do have to thin out the herd, which we see Top Rank do it all the time. Look, Matchroom just let go of a couple of fighters that ended up going somewhere else that you used to see them on Matchroom shows. But it's like, now we can't have all of y'all on these long ass deals, and we can't make a commitment to all of y'all neither, because then we're on the hook and we have to house you. Whereas with the PBC, like, why are you trying so hard to protect Danny Garcia? Why?
can
What
I
what is
can
what's
I
the
this is
point?
what they were doing. That's why I'm saying the inception was flawed because they wanted to not only have the fighter, they wanted to also have the fighter's opponent so that they can control the house because we don't answer to nobody. You know how we are. We don't work for
Exactly.
nobody. That's that
Exactly.
Mayweather attitude
sorry.
again. with that garbage. You see what I'm saying? Like
Go
instead
ahead.
of opening
Let me
up.
let me let Beats go. Go ahead, Beats.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Beats.
let me offer up another issue they've had. Like when they came in, like they bought up all them slots, bounce this, that, and that, and that. Like first they was took all the roster from Golden Boy. Then they came in, took all them slots, NBC, this and that. Then next thing is Fox. Then next thing is Showtime. They've got no stability. You know what I mean? Like it's just he doesn't work through things. Went into the UK, one show, you bank thing flopped. Okay, let's move off again. And now we're on Amazon Prime. Now everything. So who's next? Where is the business strategy, the long-term strategy to work something out and work through things? You know, you went through the trust fund money, that's gone, and now thing, and like there's no stability there at all. It's
Well, I'll
almost
say you see how Ben Shalom got Joshua Buatsi and Lawrence Okoli to cross over to Boxer. You see how he did it. He
yeah.
whispered in their ear, he talked big money shit, and he got them to go over there. If you're wondering, well, how did Al Heyman get 200 fighters to leave Golden Boy? The Waddle and Reed money. That's why so much of it is gone. I mean, that's why it went between the time buys and paying fighters in excess of their market value. That's how you burn through close to $1 billion, because it doesn't get said enough that he burnt through almost $1 billion. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Over 400 million in just 3 years. And this is on what? Danny Garcia versus Rod Salka?
I,
Thurman versus Diego Chavez?
I heard the tab is at 900 million right now.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you think about what he did, what I see is, you really had a guy, and I know it sounds crazy to people because he's been around for so long. They think of him as a boxing guy. I say it all the time. No, he isn't. Because a boxing guy would never fuck off that much money. Like, you fucked off. They pretend that Eddie is doing at DAZN what Al did with the Waddle and Reed money. When no, DAZN spent $2 billion on sports rights, not Eddie Hearn. DAZN
That's right.
spent
That's
two
right.
billion
That's
on
right. That's
sports
right.
rights, not him
Mm.
by himself.
And like
You Al Heyman and your PBC, you really did fuck off close to $1 billion on pure bullshit, and you
yep,
didn't get anything back.
yep, 100%,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
100%. A boxing promoter is really just an event planner. That's all they really
Yes,
are. They
yes.
really just an event planner. So how could you lose $900 million or throughout all your events? What the hell is going on, man? You're embezzling money at this point. Something
And
Well,
one
else is
other
going on.
thing,
let me
what
just read the two super chats before I pass it to
For
Q.
sure.
Mr. Calderon says, "I'm gonna be real. I don't think the PBC can survive this." I'm starting to feel that way too, Calderon. Shout out to Calderon. Shout out to Oscar Jimenez. Why would PBC dig themselves in a bigger hole? Are they just trying to pick up the last spare change they can from whatever fights they can produce? Wholeheartedly, I believe the ineptitude over there is so deep. They don't know how to do anything else but dig a hole. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, my question for y'all, man, and y'all give me y'all thoughts. If you have so many fighters, why can't you get them to be on these major events? Every major event that they do, it's one or two fights that might be decent. The rest of the fight is meh. And then you ask people to pay exorbitant amount of pay-per-view dollars for it. I think that they should have slotted these pay-per-view cards. That's another reason that they weren't able to retain, things in their business practices the way they've been doing them. Is you can't tell me that it took them until they started doing fights with Fox to realize that this pay-per-view event costs $50 and this pay-per-view event costs $70 and this pay-per-view event should only be $40. Like, it's not hard to understand that there are certain things that don't all cost the same. But for
Of course, but they
years,
don't know
they
what
were
they're doing, Q. They don't know what they're like. For starters, if you start off, remember, upon the PBC's inception, this is literally the beginning. They started off overpaying fighters. They started off paying in excess of market value. So you're in essence already spoiling these fighters to where if you do ask them to fight a live body, they're going to want even more money they're not good for. That people ended up on pay-per-view that never belonged there. Errol, I'm sorry, no, you didn't belong there. Not with Sean Porter, not with Danny Garcia, no, not with Ugas. You didn't belong there. You deprive your broadcast partner of what could have been good metrics on regular television by putting it on pay-per-view. So now you're not delivering for your broadcast partner. You're not really bringing in that many pay-per-views. People keep exaggerating about it, but you're not really bringing in that many pay-per-views. And you shortchange not only the fighter, the brand, the broadcaster. Like, you really don't know what you're doing.
Jules,
You
can I
Yeah,
say something? Jules, can I say something real quick? I'm sorry, Beats. If the way they exploded in the beginning in their inception with the Keith Thurman Sean Porter fight, and it was looking big and beautiful, it was on regular TV and everything,
Yes,
they actually had a chance to change the sport of boxing for the better and
I agree with you.
drop the pay-per-view price to half, $40. I think they would have been more successful if they
yeah.
would have did that. But
I think,
damn,
like, if you remember the
the
metrics,
ego, the ego.
if you remember the metrics when Spence was on the come up, right? This is years ago, guys. This is 2016, I think, for what was the Spence versus Bundu fight and the Spence versus Algieri fight. The regular metrics, they were in the millions, bro. They were in the fucking millions.
Yes, I remember.
When you think about
Keith Thurman, Sean
Thurman and
Porter was
Garcia,
Thurman
Thurman
and
and Danny
Garcia was the
Garcia.
highest sports viewed show in the entire sports industry.
So when you think about that, what I believe happened is they looked at those metrics, misinterpreted them, and told themselves, okay, it's time to put all these guys behind a paywall. And no, it wasn't. Like, no, it's
Yeah, they
not,
got
fam.
greedy. They got greedy.
But you
Even
see,
they didn't believe that. That's the crazy part, Jules. That's the crazy part is that they didn't even believe that they were pay-per-view stars. You know why I know that? Because they were only guaranteeing them $1 or $2 million to be on pay-per-view. If you
Mm.
can't guarantee somebody at least $4, $5, $6 million and feel comfortable knowing I'm willing to give you this bottom line no matter what happens, it shouldn't be on pay-per-view.
Here's what they did with that. They gave them the purses that they were making on regular television as the guarantee, right? That's your guarantee, what you normally make. And you know, if the pay-per-view sells, you'll get a little extra, not realizing you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're depriving your broadcast partner of metrics by hiding the fight. Your relationship with your broadcast partner is actually a lot more important than getting a fighter a couple of bucks. If your broadcast partner's not happy, you're going to end up on the street. And that's essentially what happened. That why are you putting Spence versus Porter as a pay-per-view when you can give that to Fox, and that would have did great ratings on regular Fox across millions of homes who that night all they would have been talking about was PBC. Now whoever the fuck is loading their Glock, you know, I don't need to hear that shit. Haym,
It ain't me. I was on mute.
I hear you loading your fucking Glock, bro. But the point I'm making, greed, I believe that greed and inexperience, I would say, inexperience, because before the PBC was founded, what Al Heyman really was a manager, not a promoter. He was a manager. He tried his hand at promotion when he created the PBC, and you see how little he knew. Like you really didn't know what you were doing, bro. You thought you knew what you were doing, but you really didn't. You overpaid the fighters. A lot of shows that weren't successful. A lot of fighters developing a bad habits and shit. You really
but
didn't know what you were doing.
here's the thing, though, right? From what I hear, he was told you are. Like, he knew he was, but I think it's something to do with his brother who was in the ring and got stiffed. And I think he's had this empathy with fighters, and I think from what I've heard, he's been told, yeah, you're overpaying him, but he just went ahead and kept doing it. So maybe this is intentional as well. Maybe just
No,
don't get.
I think he had to overpay for a little while because he was like the zone. He was first new into the industry and everything. You expect to overpay and have to take some losses in the first year
Well,
or two.
that's
You
why I
know,
say that. That's why I say that they were doomed to fail from the
yeah,
beginning. That's why I say that the idea was doomed to fail from the beginning, because a big part of the reason you were able to acquire all those fighters is because you overpaid all those fighters. So
yeah. I agree.
if that's what it took for you to even have a stable, then you might as well not have had a stable.
But
if you
but
gotta
there's
burn that much
adjustments.
cash, if you gotta burn that much cash, bro, just to get some fighters, you might as well not have them.
No, I agree with you on that, but there was a time where they could have made a significant adjustment. They didn't make the adjustment. They didn't read their situation correctly. There was a time where we needed to get hot. We got to pay a few extra dollars. We got hot, and now let's make an adjustment. They didn't make the adjustment, dog. And
Shout out to Napoli. Let me read the super chat.
God,
Shout
I'm
out to
saying so.
Napoli. There's a laundry list of reasons why the PBC is in dire straits. One reason is that they tried to model their business. Absolutely, Napoli. They tried to model their business practices in similar fashion to the UFC. It may work in MMA, but not boxing. Beats, what do you think about that? I agree. Q, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think he's got a great point there. When you talk about trying to model, their business
Oh, shit, Al Heyman got him.
the UFC,
God.
is because the UFC is viewed globally as if it is the highest form of MMA. It's the most elite league of MMA. But when you talk about the PBC, that's not the consensus amongst boxing fans that the PBC is a higher standard or a higher platform than Top Rank or a higher platform than Golden Boy or a higher platform than Matchroom. And that's the issue. The UFC was able to kind of create their own entity and their own network, kind of their own globe, so to speak, to
It's
where
completely
everybody who,
insulated.
yeah, it's insulated. So what ends up happening is you don't end up having a cross-platform demand for this guy on this platform to fight your guy, for you to have to deal with another network and all those kinds of things that we deal with here in boxing. But ultimately, I think that those contracts that the fighters were under when they had to re-sign after that initial deal they signed with PBC, those should have specifically stipulated who you fight, when you fight, and how many fights. It's the same thing that ended up being the issue as far as how Canelo was able to get out of his deal. Because if there's in writing that he's going to fight X on X date, Y on Y date, and Z on Z date, there's no need for confusion. There's no need for misunderstanding of who's going to be the next fight for you. That's the issue that I saw.
I see a lot of issues. A lot of issues are popping up, though. If the PBC was on point, they would have been able to control their entire destiny and change the sport. They completely
And
messed up.
change our lives.
Yeah,
Shout
they
out to Liam
completely
Rockwell.
messed
They
up,
could have
man.
changed my life. Shout out to Liam Rockwell. Free fights for all of 2 fights behind the paywall. Shout out to my man Duck, man. Drink on me. Appreciate you, bro. One of the main things about Napoli's point is so true is that there was a feeling when they were created that they were going to try to, which was silly if you knew then, but that they were going to try to monopolize all the talent, which yeah, you can't do that in boxing because boxing is too big. And it is true that it just looked like they were trying to model themselves after Dana White's UFC, which yo dog, that's just one promotion unto itself. As big as it is, and it is successful, not saying that it's not. He literally has all the contracts on those fighters. That's why they can operate the way that they do. But boxing, that's never going to work in boxing because no one promoter has all the fighters. No one promoter has all the contracts.
But they
So
were
if
the closest. They were the closest to actually making that happen. If they would have controlled it
Not
the
really,
correct
because
way,
all
they
you
would have
really
made
no,
everybody
I
have to come
can't
to
say
them,
that
you
because
know?
you had a whole different remember, even in 2015, some of the biggest names in the welterweight division, right? Manny
Hmm.
Pacquiao,
Hmm.
Timothy Bradley. Well, they weren't PBC fighters. In 2015 and 2016, the biggest names at welterweight were at Top Rank. Now, you had some good unbeaten guys in Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, but at that time, they didn't have the marquee value or notoriety of Top Ranks guys. They didn't. That's why it was such a big deal when Manny finally went over there in what was it, 2019? So it was
But
such a big deal because he was still worth more money than them.
but think about it like this, Jules. Think about it like this. Honestly, if you were in charge, if you was Al Heyman, if you were in charge of the PBC in 2015, 2016, whatever, you would have been able to do a better job because you would have been able to look at the job as a global job. You would have been able to catch it all. They closed off their whole mindset, everything, to the outside world of boxing. That that's what destroyed them. That has to be the one
I'll
thing
tell
that
you,
destroyed them.
tell your ass what I am. Here's what I would have did differently. Here's what I would have did. Here's one. I would have paid Keith Thurman a lot of money in 2017. I would have paid him a lot of money to go in there and get the shit beat out of him by Spence. I would have took the hit. I would have took the sacrifice because sometimes that's what you have to do for like when you offer a Charles Martin $6 million, right? It's because you believe in Anthony Joshua. That look, we're offering this guy well too much money, but we believe in you, and we believe that this fight will launch you. Well, one fight that I felt could have done more for Spence would have been beating up Keith Thurman. Now, obviously, that didn't happen when it should have happened. That didn't happen. Now, Errol was able to achieve some success, some notoriety, but not a lot because remember, from the moment he debuted on pay-per-view, his numbers were going down. Yeah, you did 360 with Mikey, but then it was a little less with Porter, and a little less with Danny, and even less with Ugas. And you don't shoot back up until Terrence Crawford is beating your ass. That's the
Yeah.
most you ever did when Terrence was whooping your ass.
Would you have paid the Would you have paid the Charles Martin money to Wilder?
Yes.
Yes, I would have
But
as
wait a
well.
minute. The thing
That would
is,
have
look,
enhanced your guy.
I'll put it this way. Remember, they gave Charles 6. They offered Wilder 2 times that amount. They gave him 12. They offered him 12. And this is before Fury, before anything. This is before this man even sniffs at a pay-per-view. They offered him 12. So not only did they offer him what they offered Charles, they offered him 2 times as much money. And every offer thereafter, right? Every offer
Got denied. It was
just got
15.
bigger and bigger. They got bigger, but
Yeah,
he kept denying them.
15 million plus the 40% upside on the pay-per-view. All of that went to shit. Then 100 million went to the zone. I mean, come on, man.
Shout out to
God
Mr.
damn.
Classic Metal. Greetings from overseas. Here's some beer cash. Shout out to beer and shout out to alcoholism. And salute the Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Boxing Beats and Rhymes make me proud to be from Watford, which is saying a lot because I'm from Ipswich. Shout out to Drew. We see what it really was, Jules. The Ponzi scheme and Haymon disappeared with all the annuities and deferred fighter purses. Stipends are gone. I'm going to tell y'all something. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I don't know if you heard it, but Al Heyman's been missing in action since December. Nobody's heard from him. The ones driving the car over there are Tom
That's
Brown.
one on the regular, and he don't go there anymore.
No, I mean like he's literally missing in action. Not oh he didn't go to a show. They haven't
Yeah,
seen or heard from him since December.
Yeah,
I
I've
said
heard.
lawyers, attorneys, everybody. They haven't seen or heard from him.
And
He's on paperwork.
the guys driving the car over there, you know that the Spanish guy Luis de Cubas Jr. with the wispy mustache and Tom Brown with his long ass face that he looks like a quarter. He looked like Abraham Lincoln with George Washington put together. They're the ones driving the car over there. And I'm just wondering, like, why would that be, yo? Like, did he really leave them? Like, is he really like is this how it ends for the PBC?
I could see him just walking away from it and leaving other people to pick up the mess and try and clear it up. Yeah,
Just like this beats though, just like that. Like, fuck it, I'm out of here. Fuck it.
Yo, I know not everybody is a college football fan, but I'll give you a great analogy for what this exactly is. Pete Carroll was facing huge sanctions for all of the improper benefits, all of the money that he was signing guys with at USC back in the early 2000s. What does he do? Right before the hammer comes down, right before the sanctions come down, they cut the program's scholarships in half. He dips and he goes to the NFL in the middle of the night. Doesn't tell anybody, doesn't say anything, takes an NFL deal. He's never gone back to college football. It could have been what he did right here. He might have just dipped and said, you know what? I'm probably gonna lose this situation, so let me get out while I can, while I still got the money I
You
got, and just
you
dip.
is that in your heart of hearts? Is that what you feel he's doing though? Like, do
I
you think
mean,
when you hear that he's been gone since December, we're in February. It's
uh,
not a long while, but it's not a short while either.
well,
Do
I
you
say
think
it like this: the mark of the seriousness of this situation is that the guy who's been with him, that he raised from the grassroots, that he helped to bring up to the stardom that he has now, is Tank Davis. Tank Davis said publicly a couple of weeks ago that he called out on numerous occasions and hasn't heard anything back. That's why he didn't get the March 30th date. That's why there's only quote unquote rumors now that he's gonna fight Frank Martin in June.
That sounds
That
bad, Jules.
that could be
No,
possibly
let
why.
me
Because why would
tell
you not
your
talk to
ass
your number
what.
one guy?
Let me tell your ass what, Q. There's a podcast out there right now where both Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis are saying all this shit about Frank Martin is it's not happening.
Yeah.
What the
That's
So
the
fuck?
last. That's the last from Cal. That's what he just said. It was just sent to me. That Calvin
Wow,
Ford is saying that
wow,
shit ain't happening.
so if that's the case,
wow.
then we already know that it realistically could be true that he's dipped out and he's not coming back to boxing
I think that
because
is
that's his
true.
number one. That's his number one draw now. I mean, that's his clear number one draw.
If he lose Tank, it's over, dog.
It is like you right about that.
It's
Like
There's
over,
no
bro.
money
if
in
they
that
lose
fight. It
him,
doesn't sell over two.
It's over, dog. If if,
I,
if you ain't got Tank, it's over,
we
dog.
and I can't treat it like it's something that Michael Benson said or Chava ESPN or Mike
Mm.
Copinger. It is Calvin Ford on the podcast. He said that shit ain't happening.
And it's also your own brain because you keep seeing the same inconsistency with them over and over again. So your own brain is telling you, I gotta listen to what my brain is telling me. Like, come on. And Calvin Ford saying it don't look good, fam.
Kenny Ellis is right there in the shit. He's eating a bowl of cereal. Calvin Ford, he's on the top. He's on the bottom left screen. He says it in plain English. That shit ain't happening. All this talk about Frank Martin, that shit ain't happening.
I thought it was weird too. I didn't think that he was going to fight. First of all, a black fighter, no, or a fighter that got some power, could hurt you, could do something
Because
to
he
you.
do got power, though. He do
He
got
do, he
power.
do. He is a significant threat. So I didn't think you was going to fight him out of nowhere, just out of nowhere. Nah, y'all doing this to look good because of the Shakur Stevenson shit, and then all out of nowhere, this is going to fall apart.
But if
Let's
he
put it in
doesn't
one
fight
sentence, y'all.
Q,
Let's put it in one sentence.
wait, Q. If he don't fight Frank Martin, what
Mm.
the fuck, bro?
Who are you
No,
fighting,
Well, here's the
dog?
thing, man. Here's the thing. He has to be willing to think for himself. And that's the
No,
issue. He can't think for himself. So
no,
if he
he's
doesn't
not.
fight Frank, he's just going to fight whoever else they give him. And he's going to say, okay, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. That's
No,
the
No, but
issue, bro.
no, it is because he's not like Devin is sharp. You can see that he's sharp. Like he's got input. He's sharp. Even Ryan to a degree. You know, like I know
yeah,
he's a
it's
fucking
sharp. I
moron.
understand
I
what
mean,
you're
He's a
Tank,
saying. I
fucking
Tank
understand your
thought
moron.
point.
Tank thought he was getting a 25 million guarantee to fight Conor, and then paid him.
Yo,
He
Tank is
wants
an
he wanted
imbecile, yo.
AJ money, bro. Yo, Beats, he wanted AJ money.
Yo,
And,
Tank
and
is an imbecile. Do you know who discovered Tank Davis? Think
who
about
was
that.
it? Who was it?
Who discovered Tank Davis?
Calvin
Who
Ford,
who
bro.
made him? No, Calvin Ford did not discover Tank Davis. Who discovered Tank Davis? Brought him to the forefront. Brought him to the whole world. Who's the
Who?
man that did that?
Who?
Adrian Broner.
Oh,
Adrian Broner, he's an Adrian Broner fighter. Adrian Broner did not know
he
what to do with him
was.
and sent him to
Bandcamp,
Floyd Mayweather.
Bandcamp.
He sent him to Floyd Mayweather. That is a fact, dog. Look it up.
Wow.
Look
Shout
it
out to
up.
Cervecero. Shout out to Cervecero. What time is the Al Haymon press?
I mean, Adrian
Shout
Brown
out
had a
to
couple of champions in the Bandcamp. He had
He had Robert Easter Jr. He had
and he
Tank.
just kind of Robert
Rashi,
Easter just kind of
Rashi
fucking
Warren,
disappeared. He
Rashi
just kind of
Warren.
fucking disappeared.
Oh, Rocky
Domo
Warren.
says
Yeah, Warren.
Domo
I forgot
says
about that.
paid them motherfuckers in allowance, took his 10% and get fucking daddled. Get fucking daddled. Shout out to Virtuoso. Heyman is shook. He's avoiding Cartello. PBC is done. Shout out to Mr. Calderon. Al put the money in the trunk of a car and dipped. I mean, how else can you describe? Like, I did hear that his mother passed away. I did hear that.
Yeah, I did hear that too. I did
So
hear
I
that
could
too.
I can get that. Okay, well, you took some time off, but your business kind of needs you right now. Like I get it, but it's like there's too much chaos right now. There's just too much chaos, and for the rumor to still be February is almost over. There's only a week left, which is next week. We're getting into what, March now, and look at where it is. Look at how things are.
Unbelievable, dog.
Unbelievable, bro.
He,
Unfucking
he, he,
believable.
he doesn't. He's not a boxing man. Like, when you think about Don King, like, he broke that bread in Zaire. I've seen him in the UK for the Ben and Eubank rematch, trying to get some smoke for the winner. Ben and McClellan. He had input when he was supposed to have input with Nassim Hamed. And like, where's Al? I see Bob Arum on the table with Sabatini and Mickey Duff controlling the whole boxing game. You know what I mean? What does Al do? What does he do? What did the
Well,
PBC do
when
outside
when
of
your
their
reputation, his reputation is predicated on a generational talent, the same way that Virgil Hunter's reputation as a trainer is predicated on a generational talent. That well, you only seem to have been successful with Andre Ward, and Al, you really only seem to have been successful with Floyd, who you kind of stumbled upon after, I mean, like, really, it's not like you groomed him and developed him and all these things. He was essentially a finished product when you got him. So you're not responsible for those things. But so much of your reputation is based on this fighter that you didn't actually develop. So when you get into, okay, well, Al, what do you do exactly? You seem to have a talent for fucking off vast sums of money. That's his talent. They're like, yeah, I could lose some money for you. If you give it to me, I'll lose it. You know? Because you lost Fox's money, you lost Showtime's money, you lost Waddle and Reed's money, you know? You lost a lot of fighters' money, you costed a lot of fighters' money. Shout out to Drew. Jules, how is Haymon gone with the new deal kicking off? We said this last year when the fighters like AB Wilder said they owed money. Al absconded. I mean, bro, like I don't even know what to say. Like, I think it's entirely possible that Al just said, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm packing it in. I'm out." You know, I don't see how they could fix this situation. If you're wondering whose ass cheeks these are Hugh Me Choi's ass cheeks, former WBA champion of the world. Are y'all distracted? Oh shit. But yeah, yo. I mean, like when so much of your reputation is predicated on whatever you did with a generational talent, yeah, it's misleading. It gives people the wrong impression of your acumen, for lack of a better word. Your business acumen.
Yo, Jules, let me mess with you for a second.
Good.
So, we was talking about how Tank and Wilder won't fight nobody, and they teams keep protecting them, and baby champion and all that old bullshit, Lomachenko and all of that shit. So now I've been saying this for a long time. The way that they treat Munguia at Golden Boy as compared to the way they treat Virgil Ortiz is a night and day. They put Virgil Ortiz in there with Wolves, but they won't put Munguia in there with Wolves. So now, what do you think is going to happen now that Canelo's knocking at the door? How they going to play this? Because
I
I
mean,
know
like,
they scared.
no, I mean,
I
no,
know
no, they're not.
something's
They're not
wrong with
scared.
Jaime
They're
Munguia.
not scared. They're not scared. You're misreading that one because the loss to Canelo is not a loss
No,
for
I
him.
understand that, but
For
they've
him,
been scared of him. They've been scared of him
in
losing
other
for a
words,
long
Canelo
time.
Canelo could go in there and beat the shit out of this kid, right? But if you're gonna let anybody beat the shit out of you, you let
It
Canelo
should be
beat the shit out
Canelo.
of you.
Yeah,
It
it
should
should
be
be Canelo.
because you'll make
You
the
make the
most
most
money that
money.
you
Yeah.
can make. So Canelo losing to him is not really a down or a bad. Like, nah, that doesn't hurt his stock at all.
May I
I
remind
don't know.
everybody
I
of
think
this
it
too?
does because now
Go ahead, Q.
Golden
Wait,
Boy
wait, go
don't
ahead,
have a
Q.
leader.
Go ahead, Q.
Let me remind everybody of this too. Now I know that Munguia has not recently taken the fights that he should take. I know that Munguia has the most padded record this side of Zerto Ramirez. Everybody knows that, right? But let's
Mm-hmm.
not forget, he did raise his hand for Triple G back in 2018,
Yes, he
and he
did.
was willing to take that fight. It was only
Yes, he
because Nevada didn't approve it. He would have been in there with arguably the best middleweight at the time, way before anybody was even asking him to take these kind of fights. So it's not that he was unwilling at that point.
I would say this about Jaime, and I've said this before. he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but he has potential because nobody lies to themselves about him. Nobody says, yeah, he's going to be pound for pound. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. He's just a fun guy to watch that might get knocked out. And that just lends itself to him that, like, yeah, he's flawed, but he's fun. And nobody has any narratives or illusions about him. So it makes him that much more appealing. He could go in there with Canelo, lose. It only helps him. It doesn't hurt him. It only helps him. The
I
only way
don't
for
know.
him is
I don't
up.
know. No, but this is what I'm saying. Like Golden Boy has been pushing him as like basically the next Canelo. That's what Golden Boy has been pushing him as. And now it's supposed to be the fight where they pass the torch. You know how it goes.
This
And
is not a this is not a passing of the
that's
torch.
what it's supposed to
It's
be,
not.
though. From Golden Boy's perspective, it's supposed to be a passing of the torch fight, dog. That's
This
what
is
it's
not a
supposed to be.
no.
Yo, have
This
y'all
is
heard?
no. This is no more a passing of the torch fight than Mayweather versus Canelo was a passing of the torch fight. If this is a parallel for anything, it's a parallel for that. In this situation, Canelo is the Mayweather, Munguia is the Canelo.
No, dog. I think you're reading it
Yes, bro.
wrong.
Like, how
I think
isn't
you.
it?
No, I think this is
Ha-
more De La Hoya Chavez. They passing. They're supposed to
This
be a
is
pass
not
the
De
torch.
La Hoya Chavez because the
Uh,
young guy beat the old guy. Do you have Munguia beating Canelo?
no, of course not. But
Then
that's.
how is
But
this
I'm saying
dead?
no. But I'm saying from the Golden Boy perspective, you got to look at it as Munguia is supposed to be the young boy going in there beating the old boy. That's what it
But
My
got to
he's
my,
be.
my question is he even is Oscar is Oscar even involved? Because there's rumors going around that Oscar didn't even know that that fight is already being discussed because Eddie was on the MMA Hour saying that yeah, DAZN has already talked to Munguia's representatives.
I'll tell you what it
That
Well,
makes
who
me
is.
think he's
cares?
already
I'll
talked to
tell you what
Zanfer.
it is. Everybody thinks of Jaime as being a primarily Golden Boy fighter. He's actually more of a Zanfer fighter.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
always been more of a Zanfer fighter.
Okay.
And what may be happening is to eliminate any friction and any issues. Ray Beltran, I'm sorry, but Ray Beltran may be
Mm-hmm.
cutting Oscar out of the picture because we don't need you mucking this up. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
we want him to have the fight. We don't need you coming in here and it turning into a matchroom gold. No,
Mm-hmm.
we don't need that, bro.
That's a good point because what
Mm.
could end up happening, and I know that the rumor already reported is that it happens in Vegas, but that makes even more sense if they do that fight in Mexico. Because does anybody want to tell me when's the last time Oscar did a fight in Mexico?
Nah,
I
I mean,
don't
like,
know,
look,
but they shouldn't
Eddie
do it
was
in
no,
just
but no,
there
Mexico.
but
2 weeks ago.
I'll tell you what, Q. While I do
That
agree
fight
with
don't
you,
belong in Mexico.
that shit, no. If you did it right, it's Jalisco versus Guadalajara. That'll be huge for them, right? But it's
Yeah.
so huge that, bro, you should do that in Vegas. Do that
No.
in Vegas. Do that in
No.
Vegas, bro.
No. Don't
Yeah.
do it in Vegas. Don't do it in
How? Why
Vegas.
not?
Because Vegas is big, no doubt. We all know. Do that shit in fucking Texas, Dallas, Cowboy Stadium. That shit is
I ain't
huge.
gonna lie. I
Mexican
ain't gonna lie.
community, you crazy?
I
That
mean, you
shit
could do
is
that fight
off
at
the
Allegiant Stadium.
chain.
You could be the first. That could be the first fight at the
Yo,
Raiders
Texas,
football
that
stadium.
shit is Dallas Cowboy Stadium. That is a fight, dog. That is craziness.
Mm, mm, mm.
Come on, B.
Shout out to Clavo. It's over for proud. It's over for proudly building chumps. PPC. Salute to you, bendiciones, Jules. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to the Gooch. Oh, Myra Figueroa. I got you right now, bro. Let me help you. There you go. For the fans. This for all of us. Shout
Mm.
out to Mario Barrios.
Who that?
This
That's
Brandon
Brandon
Figueroa's
Oh,
Figueroa's
that's
sister.
his
sister.
sister.
It's his
Oh,
sister.
man.
That's Mario Barrios' joint now. Shout out to Mario.
You beating the shit out of niggas in the street.
He got to, bro. He got to, bro. On some real shit,
Beating
he
the
got
shit out
to,
of
bro.
niggas in the street, dog.
But
You ain't
on
got
some
no
real
choice.
shit, I would say this that I firmly believe because if you think about what was just going on, right? I think Fernando wants to do the deal without Oscar because there's less hands in the cookie jar, less
Hmm.
people to pay, less
Mm.
people to create problems. That, bro, let's be real. If Canelo goes back to Eddie, if he goes back to Eddie, then that means Matchroom is at the helm of promotion. That's just what the fuck it means because
Facts.
we all know that Canelo's the A side the Jaime. And if Canelo is using Eddie to represent him, okay, we don't need the problems. We want to do the fight. We'll do the fight. Zen promotions, Matchroom. We don't need Golden
Yeah,
Boy in on this. We don't
Yeah.
need that.
Yeah,
yeah,
and the main reason you don't need it is because when you have another promoter that's based in Mexico, if you're gonna put Mexican fighters on the undercard, that's the perfect guy to use for the connection for that. Not that Eddie doesn't have Mexican fighters because he does, but I don't know. I think it's to be considered doing that fight in Mexico only for one reason, because how many more times is Canelo gonna fight in Mexico? Probably not very many. There's probably not going to be that many more opportunities where it's worth it. But how many more times in his career, even if he fights only 5 more times, is he going to fight in Vegas? Probably every other time outside of the one that we're talking about against Munguia.
I'll say this, that you'd
mm,
leave a lot. While I understand the scope and the scale of what you're suggesting, because it is true, it would be huge, bro. Like, remember when Chavez fought Greg Haugen? It could be that big, you know. It could be that big, but you would be leaving a lot of money on the table if you didn't do it in Vegas. You'd leave a lot of money on the table because that fight is
yeah.
going
I
to sell,
guess you
bro.
would. You
It's going to
would.
sell.
I would like to see what those numbers are, though. To be honest with you, I'd like to see what those numbers are. You
It's
know,
just it's just the fact that it's two guys that you know are gonna throw, and a lot of people take boxing. What I'll say this about boxing also, people tend to forget how to enjoy it. The people that claim to watch the sport the most, like, look, take away the narratives, take away the Canelo stuff, take away all this bullshit that's going on. I like Benavidez versus Vosdick. I hope they make it. I really like that fight. I want to
yeah.
see it, right? And that's without, oh, you hate David, oh, he's a hype job, oh, this, oh, that. This upcoming Alen Babic versus Steve Robinson fight. I know they're limited. I know they're coming off of losses. I know maybe they never become champions, but it's still a good fight. And I think that boxing fans, the ones that really keep up with the sport closely, they forget how to enjoy it. They're like, bro, stop taking it so seriously. Canelo versus Munguia is a fun fight where a lot of punches are gonna get thrown. It doesn't have to be all this shit. It doesn't have to be all this shit to be a fun fight. And that by itself sells it to the casuals.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
my
yeah.
thing would be, I would wonder about this one thing that would bother me if I was the fighter, for example. The I heard Mayweather say that he was getting a percentage from all the hotels because he came in when a fight on during the weekend. So during the weekend, he gets a percentage from all the casinos and hotels of their revenue. That would bother me if the fight wasn't in Vegas. If you are subject to getting that kind of revenue, I would be like, it have to be in Vegas. But
Mm,
other than
mm.
that, I did hear Mayweather say this numerous times. Sometimes somehow he got a deal where because he brings a fight to Vegas, he gets revenue or percentage of revenue for all the casinos and everything that's in Vegas. That's interesting. That now we
Yeah,
talking
but
some,
can
you
I say
know,
this?
I
I
don't
am.
know
Can I
how real
say
that
this?
is. I
I
don't
am.
know how
Hi, am. Let
real
me
that is.
just say this. Let me just say this. I could believe that in a way if it promotes tourism. I could believe
Yeah.
something along those lines. I can believe it, but I can also believe that he exaggerates. He said
No,
he
I
makes
know he
three, bro.
does.
He said he makes three
Three
hundred
hundred
million
million a
dollars a
month.
month, bro.
Come
Like
on.
that's fuck. Like how, dog? On what?
Yeah.
Cocaine?
Yeah.
It better be cocaine.
You better have a Saudi name. Listen, that's bullshit. I know that's stupidity. And I do know that he exaggerates. But if that type of deal even exists, that's interesting. I must say, if that deal exists, that is interesting.
Shout out to Mars. Bam versus Gallo on Canelo's under. That that would only enhance the profile of that, bro. That would be amazing, bro. Bam Rodriguez versus Gallo on that undercard.
Yeah,
That
I
would
mean
be
Man,
incredible,
Oh,
bro.
that's sick.
crazy.
That's sick. That is sick. That's sick.
That's crazy.
Now I'm gonna leave. I want to go take a piss and smoke a cigarette. So I want you guys to talk on this while I do that. How do you guys feel about Frazier Clark, Fabio Wardley? Go.
Raise the Clark, Fabio Wardley.
Beats is your home court, so we let you go first.
Yeah, we let you go, baby.
I've got the champion. I've got the champion as the favorite in this one, and Fraser. He's got it all to do. He hasn't had no exceptional performances since coming out of the Olympic cycle. And Fabio, from that blue collar background, what is it now? Is it 14 and 0, 13 stoppages, or 15 and 0, or whatever? And he hasn't looked back since he got on Matchroom, man. Just put his right foot forward all the time. He's good to look, to watch. Yeah, I've got him as a considerable favorite. It's a good fight though, like because Fraser has the size, and he should in theory have some amateur pedigree. He's a bronze medalist. He's fought the likes of Jalalov, Joe Joyce as an amateur, and others. So
You know what this fight kind of reminds me of, and it doesn't mean that these guys will get to this level, but this reminds me a lot of AJ against Dillian back in 2015. Because if I remember correctly, was that not for the English title? I'm pretty sure that was for the English title at that point.
for the British title, yeah.
Yeah, British title, excuse me. And so when you look at that from that perspective, when you talk about one guy who comes from the deep Olympic background, you talk about another guy who's necessarily not coming from that kind of an amateur background, while the favorites have been flipped in this fight, I'm going to say that I think Wardley wins. And the reason I think so is because I think that he has the better team. Because if I'm not mistaken, is Wardley not training with Ben Davison now? I'm pretty sure that he is.
Yes, he is. Yes.
So if he's doing that, then you know that the game plan is going to be on point. It's just going to come down to whether he can execute it or not. And for me, I think that Fraser Clark at this point, he does have some wide punches that you can punch between. And I think that that's where Wardley can clip him and hurt him. And Fraser obviously has had a lot of issues with cuts. Ironically, Wardley had a nose cut that that was, an issue, or a chin cut, excuse me, that was, an issue in his last fight. But I've seen Frazier cut up quite a bit in a lot of these fights against lower caliber guys. I think that could play a role in the fight as well.
Okay, I hear you, Sam. I personally think that Wally will knock him out in under 4 rounds. I don't think Fraser Clark is a good fighter at all. I don't believe that he's a skilled fighter at all. I think he's too slow, too methodical. He's over there. I know he's got this amazing amateur background and all of that stuff and blah, blah, blah. But in the ring on the night, standing in front of you, I think this guy's a pillowcase. I think Wardley is going to kill him. I don't even think it's a fair fight, to be honest with you. I think 4 rounds is over. That's it. Done. Fraser Clark is not nowhere near ready. I think he's 3 seconds faster than Joe Joyce. That's what I think about him. That's what I honestly think about him. I've seen nothing special about him. Everybody talking about his amateur pedigree and Olympian and all of this bullshit. I've seen nothing about him that make me say, "Oh, bars."
Yeah, I got you. Well, let's talk about somebody that's on that undercard then. When you think about Ben Whitaker, how long is it going to take before he's fighting real guys? Beast, what you think? How long is it going to take?
Well, he's only about 6-0, 7-0. I don't see the rush to. The only thing is because like these days with boxing, like the undercard is just as visible as the main event. So these prospects can't escape without scrutiny, and he's showboating.
Right. But he's showboating, so he got to get advanced. He's showboating, so now you have to get advanced. He needs to be in there with Lyndon Arthur in the next 2 fights. No. He needs to be in there with Lyndon Arthur in the next 2 fights. You showboating like that, you gotta own it. We don't got a problem with you showboating. We don't got a problem with you showboating. We love you. But you need to step it up real quick, real aggressive, for real. Adrian Broner, you had to fight DeMarco. You got to step it up. Let's go. No more bullshit. Let's go. Come on. Bring your ass. Let's go. You got to step it up. If you want to showboat like that, let's go. You got to show me that you could do this in front of anybody, that you're that good. Same way when Boots showboats in his fights. Mm-hmm. Show me who you are. Go in front of Crawford and do that dumb shit.
I would just say this. When you have him on the undercard of Buatsi Aziz and he's saying comments like, "I'm ready for both of those guys now," that's gonna make me push towards you fighting closer to that level sooner
Hmm.
rather than later.
Yeah.
Only because you the one that's bringing it up, right?
Hmm.
Most of the time when you're 6-0, they may potentially have a guy lined up that's close to your level or a little bit above you. But when you're saying that you're ready for basically world title elimination fights or fighters of that caliber and you're on their undercard, I mean, I'm gonna have to try to pull your card and say, okay, well, let's see you get in there with somebody a little bit closer to that level. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to that extent, I can definitely see what you're talking about. For me, I'm guessing, honestly, I'm guessing he doesn't, talking about Ben Whitaker, he doesn't go to the world level till he goes back and he's with Matchroom. That's what I think. I
Mm,
don't think
mm.
he I don't think he goes to world level until he gets with Matchroom because I think that he's going to continue to have these same kinds of fights against guys that are just severely overmatched against him with Boxer because those are the guys they can afford to
Yeah,
pay.
it'll be like Shannon Ryan's pro debut in the sense that she started out with her she started out with Boxer. She was with them for a couple of fights and then eventually she migrated over to Matchroom and now things are getting more serious. It's exactly what you said that with Ben, yeah, he'll have a couple of developmental fights with them, but as soon as he's able to go over there, he will because Matchroom is the gateway to the Saudi money. If nothing
Mm.
else, that's the
Mm.
incentive for a lot of fighters to say,
Mm.
"Yeah, I want to be a match. Shit, I want to be a matchroom fighter. I don't even know how to fight. I can shoot, but I'm gonna fight." I'm just playing. I'll
Nah,
fuck with
you
y'all.
you you
I'll fuck somebody
you
up. But still, though, you know
you
what I'm
making a
saying?
great point, Jules, because I think honestly, he's also said that the other thing he wants to do in his career is he wants to fight in America. Well, hello, we know that Ben isn't doing no fights in the US anytime soon. He could barely do enough fights in the UK.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
But I do want to I do want to give him his props on this. It does look like Buatsi versus Aziz was a successful show. Shout out to Beats who pointed out though that yeah, it's successful because y'all made the fucking shit smaller. Wasn't it supposed to be like 15,000? Y'all dumbed the shit down to 5,000. So
Yeah,
smaller why it
smart
was
move on their
successful,
part. Smart move on
and
right?
their part, moving that thing to a smaller venue.
the tickets were selling dirt cheap. I was offered some of them tickets dirt cheap.
You know what I'm saying? So
Man.
yeah, it's gonna be successful
Yo,
when you dumb it down.
Beats, give me the perspective, man. What's the cheap ticket to a fight like that to sit somewhere decent, not the top tier, but maybe middle of the lower bowl. What's tickets going for,
I was off. I don't know where I was seated, but I think I had decent. I was offered 50 quid.
bro?
What the
Could you
fuck?
imagine getting tickets to something like that for 50 beans, bro? That's
So
No, no,
so so
insane.
no,
does
no,
so
no, no.
does
Let me read the super chats because they're
Go ahead.
piling up.
Go
George
ahead, my bad.
says Davidson is an elite trainer now with Joshua and Wood. I think he's proven. I think his work with Lee Wood is the
Yeah.
greatest testament to yeah he's a good trainer because Lee Wood like he's a fighter of limited ability but he's beaten Mick Conlon. He avenged the loss to Lara. Like you gotta get the Kansu.
You
You
gotta give him
gotta
some
give it to
That
respect.
him.
Yeah.
that conversation came from us talking about how Wardley is now, trained under Ben
And
Davison.
he did Fury Wilder one. You gotta give
I
him a
know.
little bit of respect. Come on,
I know.
man.
Let me read the rest of the super chats. They're piling up. What do you guys think about Junto Nakatani versus Bam Rodriguez? That's the one fight at or around those weights that
Ooh.
I would be afraid for Bam. Got another
Yeah.
one here. Got another one here. Virtuoso says Beats. The UK needs to keep sending the US the HP brown sauce. I tried it on some grilled chicken, and I gotta say this shit slaps. Shout out to HP brown sauce. Now everybody, we got spicy on the motherfucking chat. Spicy one. Spicy as quickly as you can. You already know what's going on. The Canelo left. All this crazy shit is going on. And the topic of discussion tonight is what do you think the PBC did wrong? When you see where they are now, what stands out to you as something that they did wrong?
you know, they didn't control their fighters.
Mm, yeah.
Y- if they had this plan of, they had this specific plan of Jamal Charlo fighting Canelo, um, they must have had a specific plan, right? The
Yeah.
three fighters, Benavidez, September, boom. But, if you can't guarantee the money and you can't guarantee what your fighters are doing, Charlo's everywhere. He fucked up the whole deal, in my opinion. It's all on
Honestly,
Charlo.
yeah. If it wasn't for Charlo being a drug addict, that's a valid point. That if it wasn't for Charlo being a drug addict, they might have been able to see through the deal on the premise that even if we lose a little bit of money on this Jamal Charlo fight, it's with the intention of capping off the deal with the Benavidez fight that you take the hit. You take the hit for the Charlo fight because your goal is to make it back in the Benavidez fight. But they couldn't accommodate him. They couldn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to. That's the smoking gun for those that don't realize it. Canelo was able to terminate the deal prematurely because you couldn't stick to the deal. The deal was the Charlo brothers. That was the deal. And
And
the last fight was supposed to be agreed upon between Canelo and Al Haymon.
it's like, can you blame Canelo for wanting to fight the Charlos? Every single fight I've gone to live of Canelo, always, every single time, both Charlos are in the crowd, and you guys don't see this, but like, they form like this whole havoc around the whole arena, and they start talking shit. They go in, start talking mad shit. Everybody's looking at them. So yeah, Canelo wanted to fight the Charlos. I know, but did they fall? I don't know what the hell happened to them, whether it's drugs or what.
Let
Let me go to Q. Let me go to
Yeah.
Q. Q, what do you think about that? That when you see that he was trying to stick to the deal as the deal was, what do you think that was? Why would he be so adamant that no, Charlo was the deal, so Charlo is who I'm fighting?
Yeah, I think it could be a couple of things. He could be doing that just off of principle. The fact that that's what we signed, that's what we negotiated, that's what we agreed to, that's the way that things are going to go. You're not going to change up on me midstream and tell me, actually, you're going to fight this guy instead. Actually, no, we're not going to give you that money for that fight anymore. He stuck to his guns. It could be what Spicy is talking about when she's saying basically he wants the vengeance, right? He wants to put the nail in the coffin on those dudes, which I can't necessarily blame because if you're going to say all of that stuff for years and years and years after I brought you in for sparring, because if you remember, there's an old photo of them back before they were even anybody of any notoriety, and they had opportunities to spar with Canelo, that he might want to, put them in their place, so to speak. The more interesting question for me personally is if Jamal had done what he was supposed to do and he would have gotten the fight last September, who would the two fights have been this year if nothing else goes wrong? Because
Mm.
see, if he fights him then Jamal is out of the way, and there's still two more fights that have to be made. Who would those two fighters have been? That's the more
You don't
interesting
think
thing
it
for
would
me.
have been Jermel if he beats Jamal? You don't think it would they would have just reversed it like, okay, well you beat Jamal, now beat Jermel instead of well you beat Jermel, now beat Jamal. You don't think they would have did it that way?
I think it made more sense to do it the way they were trying to do it because it's little brother, quote unquote, oh, big brother's coming to redeem his family name, as opposed to you're going to fight and beat who a lot of people for a long time thought was the better fighter when they were earlier in their careers in
Yeah.
Jamal. And then now we're going to pull up the smaller brother who looks just the same, who talks just the same, even though he might be a little bit of a better fighter, maybe technically. Um, I don't think that people would have gone to that. So I don't know that they would have done that because once they saw the numbers for the Jamal fight, what were they going to agree to give another 35 million for the Jamel fight the second time? Probably not. It would have had to be somebody else.
Let me go to Beats. Beats, when you see that he was adamant, because that's what the reports say, that he was like, nah, Charlo was the deal. Not Munguia, Charlo was the deal. What does that communicate to you?
what Canelo wanted to fight Jamal.
Yeah, did he want to fight Jamal? What is that? And if he wanted to fight Jamal, why?
I don't get it. I really don't. That's that. Like Crawford would have been a better pick than Jamal because like Jamal is a mess right now. He's a bit of a mess, The PBC just ran out of options. Like they didn't have none of their fighters active. None of them can sell a gate or a pay per view or anything. They can't talk properly. They look ill equipped for the job and a bit sloppy personally. And there's one man at the helm, man. He's got to take responsibility for that.
Spicy, what do you have to say to the Benavidez fans who are really angry? They're peeing themselves, they're shitting themselves, they want their baba. What do you have to say to the Benavidez fans right now and just all of that.
I think they're part of the reason Canelo's leaving PBC. You know, he's at PBC. He was at PBC. He's trying to do, what's right. He straight up said, "I'm fighting." He's been saying, "I'm fighting Jamal. I'm fighting, just everyone from PBC. We're in the same promotion now. Let's fight." And everybody just kept going crazy on social media saying that he needed to fight him in May. And al final, like, he could never win. So fuck it. Why is he gonna stay there?
Mm,
So,
mm. Let me go to Hayam, my man in the Bronx. Hayam, Hayam. They say that Canelo's legacy will be so affected if he does not fight the Ecuadorian monster. Do you agree with those people?
No, absolutely not. Best resume in the entire sport of period is not even close. This man, I can remember him fighting Austin Trout, Shane Mosley, Cotto, um, Kirkland,
Mm,
Danny Jacobs.
mm,
Come on, the list go on and on.
mm.
Kermit Citron. I can remember him fighting everybody when they was hot. This guy, he the real deal. Forget all of those people. They don't know the sport.
Hayam, no, let me go. Let me go to Q with this. Q. Now the story is that David gonna go to 175. What do you
Mhm.
think about that?
I think it's what he should have done 2 years ago. You and I have been talking about that since I started really, following your channel, and getting on lives with you and stuff like that. David's body, you could tell just by him starting his training camps, his body is begging him to move up. And to be real with you, David is probably, and I wish that I could meet the guy face to face so that I could have a good eye up on how tall he actually is. But from the looks and the optics of it, he's somewhere between 6'2" and 6'3", because I've seen him stand next to Callum Smith and he's slightly shorter than him. He's certainly, at least an inch or two taller than Bivol. So a guy that tall that probably walks around anywhere from 210 to 215, he's clearly a cruiserweight. He's not even a light
Obviously,
heavyweight.
yes. Obvious,
But the
yes.
reason that he's not doing that is because the promotion that he signed to, and unfortunately the American audience, there's not a lot of cruiserweights that right now he would be able to fight where he's at. So he's having to squeeze himself down to a weight that he probably shouldn't have been fighting at this long anyway,
Mm.
because he's the guy that's still fighting that even had a belt in 20, what was it, 2017 or 20, was it
Bro,
2017, 2018 when
when
he got a
he
belt?
first exactly when he first won the WBC title at super middleweight, that was way back there in 2017, yo.
And if you look at all of the guys that were champions at that point, they all have either moved up one or two weight classes or they've retired. That's how long ago that was.
Motherfucking Badu Jackson went from light heavyweight up to cruiserweight in that time frame. That year
Nah,
from
bro, he's about to fight. He's about to fight at Bridgerweight for the WBC
That's
title.
what I'm saying. And like in the time, and I bring it up all the time that in the time David has been there, a lot of motherfuckers done went undisputed.
Mhm.
Motherfuckers done moved up in weight, become multi-weight champions, all while David been sitting in that one spot. Spicy, what do you think makes David Benavidez such a big fucking hype job?
The fact that he has done nothing. Nothing. Okay, so he won his both his belts, right? Back
Mm-hmm.
in the day, back when he was younger. He lost them. He could have came back. He's had plenty of time to come back and fight. What como le dicen, the European bums?
Bueno, eso sí, que esa gente estaban
All of
ahí.
them.
Antes, no,
All of
pero
them,
no la
Spicy.
verdad. Antes que el Canelo bajó para abajo, toda esa gente estaban ahí. El Callum Smith, el George Groves,
Exactamente.
toda esa gente
Entonces,
estaban ahí.
why didn't he fight them? Why didn't he do anything this whole time?
Eso.
And not only that, he's been fighting once a year. I do give him props for stepping up and fighting a little bit more and doing more lately, but it's still not. It obviously wasn't enough.
I'll say this, that the only reason that they like to classify these fighters as quote unquote Euro bums is because Canelo's the one that fought them. But if they were such bums and they were so horrible, then David, you should have been able to clean house a long time ago because he
Exactly.
literally was there. Wait, Canelo doesn't arrive at 168, really, until late 2020, practically 2021. David, by that time, you had already been a champion, not once, twice. He didn't
Jules, they
fight
don't
any of
call
those
them
And he
guys.
Euro
still
bums.
has an opportunity to come back and go hard. He still has an opportunity to fight Morale. He still has the opportunity to clean house, but he doesn't do it. What does he do? He goes up to 175 and fights this guy that has been 3 years layoff. He started
Eso,
fighting again
eso.
in
Jules,
23.
he's not fighting
So
those guys. He's not fighting. They don't call those guys Euro bums because they don't think that they're good. They call them Euro bums because they don't know how good they are. So they put them
Exactly.
all in the same class. They
They're
haven't taken the
champions.
time to watch them. They haven't taken the time to watch those cards to actually put the time in to invest in finding out who's good over here, who's not.
Well,
So
I'll
they
say
just
this.
classify them as one thing.
I'll say this. Andre Ward, before I pass it to Beats and before I read these super chats, Andre Ward made his bones fighting European fighters. The best
Facts.
wins of his career are European fighters. So I don't believe that they have a high opinion of the guys from Europe. It's just based on how you feel about the American, that's how you decide to feel about the European. It's all narrative driven. Now, shout out to Tim Sheehy, who says, PBC Defense Force wants a link. Also, hi, Spicy. Shout out to the Spicy.
Hi.
Shout out to New Country, who says, Jules, PBC went wrong in 2 ways. 1, they refused to cross promote and didn't work in unison with other promoters. Absolutely true. 2, they didn't make any adjustments in their methods. Much like a boxer, they lost. Absolutely on that. Mr. Calderon says, it's going to be funny if David versus Vosdick happens on the undercard because the PBC can't guarantee shit. So, Beats, you see what David is doing. What is your interpretation of him saying, okay, well, fuck it, I'm going to go to 175?
All right. I think it's a good move to go to 175. I will say with Canelo though, after he became undisputed, like some people were critiquing him for not fighting Benavidez when he was trying to get all the belts. I don't agree with that. You know, David had his shot with the belts and he blew them for whatever were on the scales and wherever else he was doing. And but after he got the 4 belts, I think Canelo should have made a concerted effort to squeeze a David Benavidez fight in. I do believe that. And I don't think Benavidez has helped himself. And like this recent thing with the mandatory coming up and he's jumping up to 175, I don't trust his dad when he talks. So it looks like he's lost his slot. Go fight Vodzik, man. Go cut out your own legacy. But I do believe Canelo should have fit a Benavidez fight, and I do believe he should have done.
I'll say this, guys. I don't believe the Benavidez fight is dead. A lot of people, I think boxing fans, generally speaking, rush to extremes when Canelo never ruled him out. In fact, Eddie ruled him in. He ruled him in. He never ruled him out. They never said, no, 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 we're not doing that. It's just that the emphasis and all the importance and all the specifics of Benavidez, well, that comes from the fans. They don't actually show up in the numbers. They don't show up in, and I'm not advocating against the fight. I want the fight. I believe it can happen. But what I think needs to happen now for it to happen, you got to jump ship. You have to. You have
I'm
to.
I'm with whatever you're saying, Jules. Too. It's crazy that people think that we don't want to fight. Of course, we want to fight, but it's just not going to happen whenever the hell you want it to
There you go.
happen.
There
I,
you go. Because that's
I
the
also
shit.
think it can. I also think it could be a Saudi fight.
No, no, verdad. The Saudis could pay for that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the only people that are acting like the fight is dead are Benavidez fans.
Yeah.
That's the ones that are acting like it's dead.
The thing to keep in mind for everybody too is that from what I can recall, early in 2023, David's father, and you got to take this with a grain of salt because it's coming from David's father, said that he signed a 3-fight deal. He's already had 2 of those 3 fights. If he fights on a PBC platform against Vosdick, that's clearly going to allow him, if that's true, to be a free agent. If that's the case, then he can sign with whoever he would like to at that point, and that'll tell us everything we need to know about whether he can actually get a Canelo fight after the Vosdick fight.
Can I just say this quickly, yeah, to Mr. Mirage? I didn't actually pick Callum Smith to beat Beterbiev. I said he had a shot, and I got that terribly wrong. But I didn't actually pick him to beat Beterbiev. I picked Beterbiev. I had Beterbiev as the favorite all along. But you can say what you want to say though. It's not true. I mean, I thought Callum would do a lot better. I did think he had a shot, but he got decimated.
Hey, listen, man. I picked Chris Eubank to beat George Groves, bro. Imagine how I fucking felt watching that fucking fight.
I
I
picked
thought
Callum. I picked Callum. I ain't
you
go
did
front.
you see. I ain't now. I'm gonna say this about Hayam. Hayam, you talked too much shit.
Yeah, I
I
talk mad
told your
shit.
ass. I
Nah,
told
fuck
you.
you. I
Don't
talk
fuck
my shit. I'm
me.
gonna talk it again.
It's
I'm gonna
not my
talk it
fucking
again.
fault. I told you. You know,
What's the next
Callum.
fight? What's the next fight you shaky on? What's the next fight? Come on.
Nah,
I'm gonna keep
honestly,
going.
the next fight that I'm shaky on, honest to God, is Bivol versus Better Beef because what
Oh,
I thought Better Beef was gonna start to slow down. He's not
yeah,
slowing down, bro.
not slowing
He's not
Well,
down.
slowing
y'all
down.
hold off because you know he's due for a pre-camp injury.
Right? He gonna step
Yeah.
on a Lego or some shit. He gonna
He's
hit his
due for a
leg on the mat.
pre-camp injury. He's had one every other camp for the last 3 years. Ribs, knee,
No, I
what
want
was
to
it?
use
The
Don't
jaw.
bring that
Spicy.
juju in.
I want to use Spicy to piss off the Benavidez fans in the comments. Thank God that I'm nearsighted and I can't really read most of what the fuck is being said. I'm not wearing my glasses. But just, you know what? Spicy, why do you think David is just such a piece of shit and his fans?
Well, I think he's a piece of shit because es un llorón. He's a little crybaby. All he does is cry, 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 and call boxers pussies. Oh, Canelo doesn't want to fight me because Canelo's a pussy. And he doesn't do nothing about it. He
And
doesn't step up to the plate.
his fans, you know, I've always known that David Benavidez was afraid of Canelo. Like I've always known, like he's terrified of Canelo, and it's because Canelo's a real Mexican. David, you're not a real Mexican, homie. Tú eres un ecuatoriano, no es verdad? He's not Ecuadorian or some shit. You're not a real Mexican, bro. You know, I know David stays up at night afraid, worrying about Canelo. Like I know he be afraid as shit, bro. He's scared to death. Like that's why he going to 175 because he's so fucking scared, bro.
And let's keep
Like
it real. If he really wanted to fight Canelo, he would do it at any price. But he's saying that his price is worth more than $4 million, more worth more than any than Ryder, than Bivol, than Jermel Charlo. You're not worth more than any of those fighters. What have you
exactly,
done to prove that you are?
you're not a champion. It's not like you got a belt for Canelo to win. It's
Right.
like at least Caleb had a fucking belt. What the fuck do you have, bro? Intermediate intestinal belt? In-
David, if he wanted to be a real one, what David should have done was filed that paperwork, and then
yep.
There you
posted the
go.
paperwork, when the WBC said no, not yet, or whatever date it was they were going to agree to. But you never heard David or his father say, "Well, we filed our petition to be the mandatory for the WBC title." You know why? Because they would get such a small split on that
Exactly.
on
See,
that purse
that's why I
bid.
fuck with Q. That's why I fuck with Q. You know what it really is, Q? They know if you go through the WBC, all you're actually entitled to is 25%. That's it.
Let me keep it real, yeah. Like he's not. I don't think he's gonna go through with that Vodzik fight because the only way he can beat Vodzik is okay. Let me try and tuck up and hold punches and catch him late, and he's gonna get beaten up, man. He's gonna
Mm.
get beaten up bad,
You
man.
don't so get it out there, Beats. You actually don't like his chances against Vosdick.
Not really, no, no.
Hayam, what do you say? Do you like David Benavidez's chances against Vosdick?
No, I think balls that catch him and hurt him bad when something that he don't see coming. He's
Ah,
not he's not people think but David Benavidez is a skilled fighter. He's not, yo. Really watch him. He squares up in front of his opponent. He's not as skilled as you think, yo. Bosdick gonna catch him and hurt him. He's used to fighting smaller men. He's not used to fighting nobody his
that
size.
that's
Come
true.
on, watch
And
this, man.
the
Watch
smaller
this.
men still catch him. Imagine a bigger man catching him.
Yeah, come on,
That
watch
is true
this.
though. That
Watch this.
the constant with David Benavidez is literally fighting smaller men who are not punchers. Literally, that's the constant with the matchmaking. That
Dude,
come on,
look
Darrell's
how
not
much
a
punches he
puncher.
took against Andrade. Look how much punches he caught again. Like they didn't hurt him, but look how much punches he caught.
And we all know that Andre was really a guy who spent a long time at junior middle and
Yeah,
middle, right? In his
154.
mid-30s, was never known for power, never known for power. So it's like we see what you doing, bro. Like you fighting dudes that really can't even crack. It ain't like it ain't no punchers at 168. There have always been some guys who could crack at 168. Callum Smith could crack at 168.
Jules, can I just
Billy
say
could crack
this?
at 168.
Jules, can I just say this? David Benavidez was a cruiserweight at 15.
That's true. That is true. He got into boxing to lose weight. That's literally the story of how he found his way into the sport, to lose weight. Shout out to Domo. Why are they rushing him into a June fight? Some shit with that, some shit they did when he signed the Morrell fight. Fight disappears when Canelo got there. Shout out to Tim Sheehy. Come on, David, just cross the street, bro. And that's why I'm kind of holding out hope, because believe it or not, that fight is not dead. Canelo versus Benavidez is not dead, but you have to change your decorum. If you stay where you are, yeah, then it's dead. If you stay with the PBC, yeah, the fight is dead. If you leave, you got a shot. Shout out to Soldry. Remember when Bivol was offered the first Canelo fight? He didn't care if he got paid in food stamps as long as he got the fight. Absolutely. Whereas one thing that I've noticed about PBC fighters that I often say is they negotiate from a position of weakness and fear. They don't negotiate like fighters that believe in themselves. I always bring this up that when Evander Holyfield fought Mike Tyson for the first time, he didn't like the money at first, but he accepted it on the premise that he was confident he would win, and he was confident there would be a second fight, and he'd make the money back that way. So if you're David Benavidez and you're nothing more than a mandatory challenger, you're not a champion, you're not bringing a belt like Caleb and Billy and all these other guys did. You're just a mandatory. If you truly believe that you're going to win, don't try to give nobody a hard time. Y'all talking about $5 million like y'all really getting that, and I know y'all not getting that. I don't know. You could fool a lot of people. You don't fool me. You don't make $5 million a fight. Who the fuck you lying to? $5 million a fight. Fuck out my face, bruh. I don't. You didn't get 5 mil for no Andre, cause nobody bought that shit. Nobody bought that shit.
No,
We
he
know
didn't
that he
get
didn't
that
get 5 million
money.
because Tank don't even get a $5 million purse guarantee unless
When
he's
Sean
fighting Ryan Garcia.
when Sean Porter fought Errol Spence Jr., the
1 million.
guarantees one. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
And
what the
he's a
fuck?
dummy because he needs to bet on himself. Obviously, if he's worth what he says he's worth, then that's going to come in the pay per views and he's going to get a
Exactly.
percentage off that. But obviously, he
Exactly.
doesn't believe in himself enough where he thinks he's going to make that money.
And they don't believe in him because what I notice, what is the common denominator that I see across different divisions that may involve a PBC fighter, is they tend to negotiate from a position of weakness. That's how they negotiate.
Mhm.
You negotiate as if you're afraid to fight. Look at Tank. Well, I need two Ferraris to talk. You need two Ferraris to talk to this dude for Devin? You need two Ferraris. You can't just talk to him on a strength to open up a dialogue to network, because that's networking open doors. That's how you know motherfuckers really like, yo, you don't got no real life experience, my dude. Because you just could talk to him, just to talk to him, like, yo, what's good? I'm Tank. Maybe we could do business in the future, even if it's not for this fight, or even if it is for this fight, but not right now. Maybe 2 fights from now. Let's talk. Nah, you really acted like a little kid. Yeah, I need two Ferrari. I need two.
well,
Like, really,
well,
fam?
Jules, you know he can't even go over there. He's a criminal. He's got a
No,
criminal history.
y
He
es
might not
la
even be able to go to Saudi.
hipocresía, Jules. La
Nick,
hipocresía de todo, ¿verdad? That Tank doesn't fight nobody worthwhile, ¿verdad? No champions, no nothing, pero lo tienen hasta el cielo. Pero
Eso,
Canelo, he needs to fight every single person or
esa
else
es
his
la
legacy is going to be
hipocresía.
tainted.
Esa es la hipocresía. That's the double standard. That how is it that Canelo is required to fight anyone and everyone from 147 up to 175, because they never stop throwing names at him. And Gervonta Davis, by those same critics, is not held to that same standard. That, okay, well, if you want Canelo to fight everybody, why don't you want Gervonta to fight everybody?
Deep
You
down,
don't.
that tells you they don't think
is
that he's as
the
good. That's why.
is the
Deep
win or
down,
the
that tells you they
loss.
don't think
Yeah,
he's as good.
you're correct.
and
It's the
and
win or
deep
the
down it
loss.
tells you that all they do want to do is talk shit,
That's
regardless
it.
if he fights Benavides, if he fights anybody, it's always going to be someone else that they're going to talk shit about.
Think about how there are fighters within his own division, because it's not like it's all about one fighter anyway. It was never just about one fighter. If what you're saying is Oh, Devin is too big. He rehydrates too much. Okay, well, what about Shakur? He's there right now. Like
What
him?
about Loma? What about Loma?
That's
He's
not,
getting old. He's
he's
getting
getting
old.
old. Go ahead, shoot for him. He's like, what, 36 now?
Come on.
And what do we get? We get Frank Martin, which goes back to the point that I made in the video I made that, listen, Brody, we were supposed to get that same Frank Martin on ESPN Plus. It wasn't going to be a pay-per-view. You don't fucking turn around now and charge me $75, $80 to see that same guy. You bugging out. Now, if you want my money, like Devin, Shakur, Loma even. You know, why not? Fuck it. Loma, I know he's up. Hey, fuck it. I'll pay for it.
Teofimo too.
Teofimo, go ahead. I'll pay for any one of those 4 fights. And if you're the A side to those fighters, the responsibility is on you to make those fights, not them.
You know he's never going to take them fights, though. Like, you know,
He's not taking those fights.
Devontae about her life, man.
He's a good fighter, but he's
all that Baltimore tough shit. And then you're like, you know what I mean? Like, you ain't fighting nobody, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even buy into that. Like he's a sports guy. Like, yo, you a sports guy, bro. Let's stop pretending everybody tough just because they lived in a poor neighborhood. A lot of motherfuckers is poor, fam. It's a lot of motherfuckers that live in a poor neighborhood. That shit don't make you gangstalicious by default, bro.
No.
Saying like
nobody's talking
that's
like
like
that.
saying, yo, everybody that live on a concourse is the hardest motherfucker on the planet.
No,
damn, everybody that live on a concourse, everybody,
yeah.
everybody in High Bridge is the hardest motherfucker on the planet. Everybody, like everybody.
BX is Bronx.
Like, get out of here, man. Like, yeah, your mom was broke. So was mine, bro. What are we talking about? Like, shit, everybody I knew was poor. The fuck? I ain't know no rich people. Motherfuckers acting like because he was poor. Oh, yeah, he's just the hardest motherfucker in the hardness of hardest. Like, nah, fam, you're just poor, bro. Right?
I mean, the reason I said that is because he tried that spoon-fed W boy to Eddie, and you sound like a goofball.
I'll say this: it wasn't until I got older that I realized something. Like, poor people try to use that to look down on rich people, right? And I thought about it. I'm like, yo, all I see is that his daddy gave a fuck about him, and yours didn't give a fuck about you. That's all I see.
And watch this, Julius. That's a great point you make. But watch this. I would never say something against somebody's children. But if you don't think that Tank wants to provide that kind of lifestyle for his own children so that they're spoon-fed, you crazy. You're insane.
That's what
since when they're having a it's like as you get older, because look, man, I ain't even know my dad, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So I think about it, I'm like, how the fuck is it a bad thing that Eddie dad was in his life? You saying that shit like it's an insult to something. Oh, you knew your father? He's spoon-fed. The fuck? Like, how is that bad, bro? You should feel bad that your daddy ain't give a fuck about you, bro. The fuck?
And on that note, y'all, I'm gonna get on out of here. Y'all have a good night, bro.
All right, bro. Shout out to my man Jordan Zoo. What blows my mind is how no one at the PBC will say what's happening with their company. It seems disrespectful to their fans. Imagine if all these rumors swirling around Matchroom and Eddie and Frank and were nowhere to be found. Exactly. But that's a deeper conversation that I don't always like to have because I don't want to be that dude. I don't really want to keep saying, yo, this is really why they like that. I will leave that to other people because I don't want it to seem like I'm saying this and that. I'll leave it to other people why we're expected to pull punches on the PBC. Like, nah, homie, you
got
bugging.
time, man. I feel like they really messed up a good opportunity. They could have came into the sport and really did good for the sport, but they got greedy and stupid and kind of ignorant. I don't know where exact moment it went wrong, but I think it went wrong from inception.
It's from the beginning.
I thought it was from the beginning.
If I use my alien technology brain powers, right? What my alien technology brain psychosis tells me is they were doomed to fail from the very beginning because your gains are ill-gotten gains. The only reason you were able to acquire 200 fighters is because you made them all. No. It's because you made them all promises of milk and honey. The Waddle and Reed money, you fucking blew it overpaying these motherfuckers. You blew it on them. So you were doomed to fail from the very beginning because that's how you got them. The same way that Ben Shalom got motherfucking Lawrence Okolie and Joshua. Yeah, yo, come over here, yo. You gonna be the face of Sky, yo. That's what he told Lawrence. You gonna be the face of Sky, yo. That's
Yeah,
how
but he
fucking.
did that with 2 or 3 or 5 fighters. These motherfuckers did that shit with 200,
And why you
500.
think it's 200 motherfuckers thinking they belong on pay per view?
That shit is
200
crazy.
motherfuckers. Yeah, I'm pay per view, yo. You gotta pay me. Keith Thurman, don't get out of bed. Keith, don't even get out of bed, bro. Stay in bed, bro. Fuck it. You know what I'm
That
saying?
shit is crazy. Keith been in bed for 2 years.
This is a lot of times on a lot of lives, I would talk about something I would call the Great Reset. What it is really is a great market reset because for every imbalance, eventually, in any ecosystem, even weather patterns, they correct themselves over time. So if you have a proliferation of fighters that are saying, well, I'm not going to get out there until you pay me this, well, then you just ain't going to get out there, motherfucker. Correction. You think you worth money that isn't out there, and what ends up happening is you're not out there. The sport don't need you, Keith Thurman. The sport don't need you, Danny. You think the sport gonna be fucked up if Danny Garcia don't fight? If Keith Thurman don't never fight again, what boxing? Oh, boxing is hurt, bro. This is a black eye for boxing. No, me,
I
boxing
will
will
say
be
though,
okay.
Keith is trying to promote the fight the best he can. I will say that. He's trying to do the best he can.
That shit, he give me stomach
He's
pains.
trying to.
When
He's
they give
trying
him a
to.
mic, he give me stomach pains, bro.
When you
He's
look at the weight
trying,
structure
yo.
in their early cards, like Eddie Hearn and Kathy Duba and a few, they were saying it wasn't sustainable. Everyone was saying it wasn't sustainable, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're haters." You know, even I thought they were hating a bit at the time,
In the
but they were
beginning,
right. It wasn't
in the
sustainable.
beginning, I did. In the beginning, I'll admit that in the very beginning, upon PBC's inception, I did think people were being hard on them because I'm like, look, they're new. You got to give them a break because they're new. That's with anything that's new. I remember an old a pizza parlor opened up on my block, right? Pizza wasn't that good, but they was giving it away at a reduced price. So it's like, yo, you got to cut them some slack. They knew. You feel me? But over time, I started seeing like, damn, y'all always blocking some fights. If it ain't Quillen Korobov, it's Santa Cruz Regandiel. If it ain't Santa Cruz Regandiel, it's Santa Cruz Russell. And why the fuck we ain't get Charlo versus Hurd yet? And what's taking so long for Thurman versus Spence? And then you start seeing the pattern. And that's just on the inside. Then you look at the shit on the outside. Well, y'all ain't doing shit on the inside. It's shit y'all not doing on. Like, what are y'all doing then? What the fuck y'all doing?
And that's why I don't think that it's the in-house fighting that was the problem with PBC, because they weren't even doing in-house fights.
Yeah.
It's when they became a protection program. It became a place for you to hide basically your career. Hide without hiding. Hide out in the
To
open.
hide out, basically.
I'm sorry. If I was
You-
PBC, I would not protect anybody. I would put the best with the best, like Morale and David. That would be such a crazy good fight.
That's because you want to make money. So
Yeah,
but
like I
that's
don't like Al's game. It's kind of like when Bernie Sanders said, "Yeah, we got to make tuition free." Okay, how? How? What's the plan, bro? That shit sound good, Al. What you saying sound good, but it's not actually realistic. This is a business. For some motherfuckers to be the shit, you got to show that some motherfuckers ain't shit. To get a diamond, right? To make an omelet, got to crack a couple of eggs. To make a diamond, you got to have motherfuckers under pressure.
There you go.
Now, if you protecting everybody like the way, look, I say it all the time. I'm gonna say it again. The way they do it at Top Rank is how you supposed to do it. Yo, we not here to coddle order y'all, B. Some of y'all motherfuckers gonna lose, and some of y'all motherfuckers gonna get cut. You gotta fight for what you eat. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody over here to be nursing you and putting you on their titty. Like the fuck, this is business.
yeah, that's
To-
keep what you
to
kill.
put the
That's
slam
keep
dunk on
what
your-
you kill.
to put the slam dunk on your point, Jules, if Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, was in PBC instead of Top Rank, they'd still be trying to make that motherfucker a thing.
Bro, they cut that motherfucker as soon as he they cut that motherfucker right away. Like soon as he lost the boxcar Freddy. All right, motherfucker, it's been good. Next fight somewhere in Mozambique. His last fight was somewhere over there. Say, yo, dog, like the fuck? We ain't here to be just coddling you and shit. We trying to get some money out here. Shout out to the Gooch. Haymon could have had Richard Schaefer run the show. He built Golden Boy into a powerhouse. He absolutely did. But don't forget that Richard Schaefer was over there, bro. Schaefer was, upon the PBC's inception, right? He was over there with them. He left Golden Boy. He was over there. It's just that the plan in and of itself, which is why I believe they've been doomed to fail from the beginning. Well, if the plan is centered around paying fighters in excess of market value, well, then it's only a matter of time before the money gonna dry out. So you doomed to fail. You can't keep paying these motherfuckers this way for these fights. It's not sustainable.
Yep, and you know, it's all unraveling now, man. It's all unraveling.
Do you think Canelo will go back?
No, there's nothing that. Look, I'm gonna use my psychic Julius alien powers, right? And I'm just gonna tell y'all, they don't have no money. I'm trying to tell y'all, they don't have no money. There's no money over there.
Think about it, yeah? They tried to do the Canelo thing twice. They brought him over to fight Caleb, got dismantled, and they never really had nothing more. He went back over to Matchroom, and it's the same. It was a free fight deal with the second time around. Charlo got washed, and like, it was over. It was over. You know what I mean? They could. You know, see, he's been used to paying them fighters chump change, but they can't really handle the Canelo business there, man.
Bro, that's like if I buy a dude. That's like if I buy a dude. Yo, this my homie. Let me get you this Lambo. But the dude work at Gristides or he work at fucking. It's like, yo, you can't handle this car, bro. You can't pay this. You can't pay the upkeep, the insurance. Like you can't handle this, bro.
Can't handle it. What it really is Anthony Joshua, Mick Hennessy vibes. That's what it is. It's Anthony Joshua, Mick Hennessy vibes.
That's what it is. It's like, yo, you can have the shit, you can have the top earner, but you cannot handle the assignment. You are not equipped, bro. Not for nothing. Look, B, it's like if you got joint, she got the fat old ass, and you just don't have the equipment for the ass. That's what that shit is. Like, yeah, Al, you don't have the equipment for this assignment, bro. You know what I mean? You walked into this deal, and what you should have said, yo, listen, I need you to fight David as the second fight of the deal. If you can't do that, we can't do business. Because I can't waste time. If you beat the first Charlo, nobody really gonna want to see you fight the second one. So if it's me and I'm doing a deal with Canelo, yo, I need you to fight David in the second fight.
Here's how unequipped they are. Here's how unequipped they are, Jules. When Jermall couldn't do the fight, they should have never done Jermell because that was never going to end well for them unless they were absolutely convinced Jermell could win, which would kill the Benavidez fight.
He has no foresight. He's not equipped. If Canelo is the joint with the fat old ass, then that's too much woman for you, bro. You need to get you another joint, bro. Like that's too much for you, bro. Just get you a different joint. That's what this is.
But that go back to ego.
But obviously, if they didn't have him, you know, if they didn't have enough money to pay for Charlo, what makes you guys believe they had enough money to pay for
Benavidez? Yo no creo que ellos tenían. This is what I'm trying to tell people, and I don't know if I'm getting
it. Dinero,
entonces, ellos no tienen ningún dinero para nada. Para nada. No, not just Charlo. They don't have money for Benavidez. That's why his name is not in none of the report. You don't see Mike saying nothing about Benavidez, right? Because they didn't offer it because they don't have the money. Don't have the money.
But
it's not just yo, we not gonna pay for a Charlo fight. It's we can't. So if we can't pay for a Charlo fight, how are we gonna pay you? And how are we gonna ask you to fight Benavidez? We don't have the money.
But it goes back to the Jermell fight because by having Jermell fight at all and Canelo winning, you killed a Crawford-Jermell fight.
Yep.
When Crawford beat Spence, you just killed two fights in two different divisions, all because you don't have the facilities for that big man to handle a Canelo deal.
That's the word, that they don't have the facilities at this point in the juncture. It's like a recurring theme, because I've been saying it year by year, that year by year they're losing more and more of the resources that they have, to the point that everything they're doing now is just to survive. It's just out of necessity. If Thurman versus Zoo is on pay-per-view, it's out of necessity. In reality, you don't have a choice. You don't have any money. You don't even have a choice. And it's for us, the consumer. The reason I always go back to the consumer perspective is because it's not my job to sympathize with your inadequacies. As a consumer, if Top Rank is giving me Better Be versus Bevo as part of an ESPN sub, how the fuck you want me to give you 75 or $80 for that shit? This is a better fight than that shit.
So think about this, yeah. Crawford Canelo in one day. Wilder's gone. Matthias is gone. Spencer
Vargas is gone.
Who's that?
Vargas, Ray Vargas, the dude that's fighting Nick Paul, the WBC featherweight champion.
Yep. Like, so how do they put shows on for a whole schedule for a year or whatever? So what do they do?
If they minimize the shows, they're going to minimize the shows. They're going to trim the excess, minimize the number of shows. Where we're thinking it might have been 12 to 14, it might get boiled down and condensed to 10. Might get boiled down and condensed to 10. And I mean, I'm not saying it because I want or don't want. I'm just looking at it. I would be surprised if they survive beyond this year. I would be surprised. Because the one thing you have to remember is, forget all the shit. The fighters want money. Fighters are going to go where the money is. If you don't have money, they're going to leave. You're going to leave. Like Matthias left, like Vargas left, like Wilder left. If you don't have money, them fighters themselves, whichever ones have any kind of autonomy, they're going to leave. They'll do it on their own because they have mouths to feed. They have bills to pay, just like me and you.
Even Danny Garcia is trying to get Conor in London.
Right? You think that's for no fucking... Why you think he's saying that? Yeah, I fight him in London, yo. Yeah, I know you would, you thirsty motherfucker. I know why. I know why. Shout out to Mars. Morrell should be a star at this point, fighting 3-4 times a year in Miami. What the fuck is a Cuban fighting a minute? Thank you, bro. The plan I have for Morrell, and Eddie will do it. Eddie will do it. You package Morrell with Andy Cruz. Base him out of Miami, where there is a large concentration of Cubans, and you package them together. Cuban night. And you know, you could build him that way. Start a grassroots movement that way, because he is a talented fighter. He is fun to watch. He's not afraid of challenges. You can promote the shit out of this dude. Package him with Andy. But that's if he leaves, and I hope that he does. Hope he does.
He's not going to have a choice much longer.
Motherfucker got a Cuban fighting in fucking Minneapolis at the Armory? What the fuck?
Well, you know how many Cubans are a fan of the Vikings, right, Jules?
Exactly, bro. They're huge in Havana, bro. The fucking
But
Vikings, bro.
At this point here, I'll just mention all their names. They're not going to be the last casualties or departees. As I asked, if there's anyone like people who leave, they can't put cards on it. It's going to be ridiculous. They got no. What's happened to Andy? What's happened to Andy Ruiz? What has happened to Andy Ruiz?
Bro, what the fuck? The shit is, even, it's like, it's so bad that you're like, if you're Andy and by some chance you're at the PBC, dog, who you gonna fight? Even Frankie Sanchez left. Even Frankie left, bro. Remember, Frankie fought in Saudi.
Yeah.
There's nobody over there for you to fight, bro. Wilder not there. Wilder gone.
More than likely, that Caballero Frankie fight is going to go to the Saudis. I don't know. Is it scheduled to be on?
I mean, I would imagine that if anybody's gonna pay for it, because the shit is, come on, look, like, I don't got nothing against Caballero, but don't nobody give a fuck about you, bro. Like, ain't nobody, like, it's what he did is dope. I'm not hating. I'm just saying that, yo, like, ain't nobody gonna really outside of Saudi, they'll pay for your show. They will, but outside of that, Who else is gonna pay for that show, bro? Who else? They the only ones that'll pay for that shit. I hope they do. You know, I'm not a hater, but it's some real shit. You know what I'm saying? Gooch says, I guess Floyd would not or could not finance the fight. Yeah, the dude that claims to be making $300 million a year. Here's a perspective, guys.
Month.
Right, month. Top Rank's annual budget is $100 million. To do shows throughout the whole year, all the shows you see, they do that with $100 million. So Floyd, if you're getting $300 million in 1 month, you can't throw out one, do these shows. What's going on, bro? I thought you a hustler, bro. Flip it. Shit is crazy, bro.
About that shit there, man. He ain't got that kind of dough either. So
I know, bro. That's an insane number, bro. Like that's Pablo Escobar numbers, bro. That's Chapo number. Like, nah, dog. You not making that, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here. The 300 mil.
If he was doing that,
you know,
he wouldn't be doing
after
exhibitions
he's
in the
won all
Philippines.
this money, you would think that he would bring it back to the sport and want PBC.
No,
and
spicy, te lo voy a decir. He wouldn't be on Instagram showing me the same cars from 2013 if you making 300 mil a month. Every time he go on Instagram, he show you that same garage with them same ass cars. Them cars is from a long time ago, bro. He been showing them cars in that garage. So I'm like, nah, homie. Times is tough. You not broke how regular people be broke, but nah, homie. Something not right.
It's like LeBron James being on that same page of the same book for the past how many decades now?
Bro, it's like when Teofimo, it's like when Teofimo was up there with Keyshawn staring into a book and don't turn the page.
Exactly.
Like, bro, what the fuck you reading, bro? You been on that page for 15 minutes, bro. Fake reading ass motherfucker.
wow.
It's all bad, Joe. It's all bad. And shout out to what's his name? Cult of the Lamb. He been talking shit for like an hour, bro. He mad.
So who's Tim Zoo gonna fight if Crawford's gone? After he decimates Sterling.
Bro, that's the other thing. That's what the last video I did was about. They're like, yo, Crawford is running out of options. The only real big fight I could see him have is Tim Zoo that's worth any kind of money. But outside of that, yeah, it ain't really nothing else, bro. What you gonna do? You gonna fight the winner of Lara versus Zarafa? What you gonna do? You gonna fight Carlos Adamiez? That you gonna do?
Honestly, you might get a little mad at me. I think a catchweight with Boots in the meantime, until he gets the Thurman Zoo fight cleared up, wouldn't be all bad. Just to get back in the ring, get some activity done.
I don't disagree with a catchweight for Boots. Here's my thing, which I keep telling people: who is going to pay them?
That's what $1 question.
Like that's what nobody really understand. That I be saying that and not hearing me. Boots is not a PBC fighter. Crawford is not a PBC fighter. So if you want them to fight, who's gonna pay them? Somebody got to pay them. And I say this shit, and it's like it just near like everybody. Matt Crawford don't want you, bro. I'm asking you, who's gonna pay them? Boots is not a PBC fighter. He's not a PBC fighter. Crawford is not a PBC fighter. So who pays them? That's not a big fight, by the way. I'm sorry if it hurt people's feelings. But if you were to put that fight and give them guarantees, you're gonna lose them. You will lose money making that fight. You better call Turkey to make it. He the only one who can afford to lose it. Better call him. Because in America, that shit don't sell. Sorry. It don't sell. I'm sorry. It don't. The fuck?
I don't think they'd be interested in a catchweight in Saudi. I think they'd only be interested in that fight at 147 for undisputed.
Motherfuckers get mad when you tell them shit like that, because I guess, I don't know, maybe it make them feel like they irrelevant. Well, I'm sorry, but if that's the situation, you must be. Because if you made that fight, yo, dog, that shit don't crack 300 down. No, it don't. I don't think it does too, personally. I think it'd be lucky to do 150. I think it would be lucky. Sorry. If David Benavidez is out here fighting Andre and he can't crack 300,000 bars with that, right? What makes you think Boots more known than him? Nah, right? So what we talking about then? Oh, you relying on Crawford to sell it. Crawford by himself gonna get that shit to 500,000, 400,000? And I love him. I think he's great. But that shit don't sell. It don't sell. That's why it's not. That's the real reason. If you had a dude that said, "Yo, Boost, check it out. I got 10 mil for your ass. Bud, I got 15 mil for your ass." They'll make that shit tonight. More realistic numbers. Boots, I got 5 for you. Bud, I got 10 for you. 15 mil guaranteed pot. If somebody would step in, yeah, it could happen. The reason it don't happen, nobody is putting up no money for that fight. Nobody is about to, unless His Excellency wants to. He the only one I could think of. Motherfuckers be mad all day, but as much as I try to explain this in different ways and changing the words, it just don't click with some mother. Cause what do you think? Like money grow on trees? Or you think motherfuckers is just fighting the fight? They don't want to get paid.
Exactly.
Motherfucker, they want to get paid. You got to tell them, yo, Bud, I'll make the fight. How does 8 mil up front with a pay-per-view upside sound? Boots, is you willing to take this fight for 3 mil with an upside? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, 35%, right? You got to work it out.
Julius, he don't get a 3 mil upside. Boots, you don't get a 3 mil upside.
I'm just throwing shit, but that's
I
my
know,
thing. That like,
I'm just saying, Boots is no market value.
Bro, they don't know that dude, man.
Boots gets the standard millie on the PVC.
Like they acting like Boots is motherfucking Trinidad or something. Like what? Like yo, look, he cool and all that. He beat up Roman Villa and all that, but y'all really acting like this dude is wild popular, and he's not.
He's not.
Conor Ben is what? Yo, look, pads or no pads, I don't even care about that shit, right? Conor Ben is way more popular than Boots. Yes, and they know that kid, bro. They know his daddy. They know about the pads. They know all the shit. They know him. Motherfuckers don't know you, Boots. Motherfuckers don't know you, bro. Motherfuckers sitting there, yeah, that Boots, man. Ain't nobody doing that. Nobody doing that. They don't know you, homie. They don't fucking know you, homie.
Like,
sorry.
Bozy was saying the Ben fight doesn't do nothing for them. Bro,
imagine, yo, I seen that shit. I'm like, yo, y'all gonna negotiate this motherfucker into an Andre career. That's what y'all gonna do. I see it. Yeah. I called it. I said, like, yo, look, I see he has talent, but on some real shit, what I see for him, he is never gonna be what they want him to be. Too many stupid decisions. It should have been a no-brainer. Don't you got your ears to the street? Don't you see what's going on? You should have jumped into bed with Matchroom last year. You should have said, yo, Cameron, take me to Eddie, B. I need fight dates. It ain't no big fights. What big fights? What big names? Take me to Eddie, man. He could give me some fight dates at least so I could fight 3 times a year.
Eddie don't.
No, you gotta be loyal to Showtime. Gotta be loyal to Showtime because they've done so much for you.
All right, gotta be loyal.
Turks, though, man. Like, who's he got?
Oh yeah, but Eddie's the man, right? For getting Berlanga hyped up like he's been.
Bro, the shit is that Eddie is a hero, bro. That dude is a hero. He like he really got Berlanga. Don't you see? He get his boys that Canelo fight. He get them that Canelo. Remember when Jacobs fought Canelo? Who he was with? Eddie. Son just fought Canelo. Callum fought Canelo. Who's he with? Eddie. John Ryder fought Canelo. Eddie. He'll make sure, yeah, my guys gonna get that Canelo fight. They gonna get it. Motherfucking hero, bro. He'll make sure.
I still don't understand how he's the WBA. ¿Cómo se dice?
You want me to explain it? El mandatory. You want me to explain it to you? Here's how I explain
Dinero.
it to you. I'm a dinero. Even though Morrell would beat the fucking living shit out of Edgar Berlanga, I don't have a doubt in my mind, right? There's more money behind Edgar than there is behind David. It's the short explanation.
Hmm.
It's more money. Edgar is quote unquote more marketable, even though he's severely limited, right? But there is more money behind him. There's more money. Matchroom's investment in Edgar is greater than the PBC's investment in David Morrell.
That makes me sad.
Makes me sad too because I think that kid could be something though. Like he got talent, man. That kid could fight, but he got to get off that island. Otherwise, your career gonna die on that island. Get off that island.
How long has he been the interim WBA champion? It feels like it's
2
been
years,
a minute.
bro.
Since 2019, I think.
Yo, he's not that far back, but I want to say 2 years. David Morrell, I want to say 2 years. He's
He
been
still
there.
hasn't been named mandatory.
Same, bro. Look, Cuban fighters got it rough. They got it rough. So the only guy I could see really turning a Cuban fighter into anything right now is Eddie, because that's what he's trying to do with Andy Cruz. Package them together in Miami, somewhere in Florida. You could do it. It's mad Cubans out there, man. Y'all know it ain't nothing but Cubans out there.
Oh yeah, whatever he's doing with the whole little Latin America, he's doing it well.
Bro, and Eddie Hearns, bro. He's in Mexico. He's in fucking Miami. He's all over the fucking place, bro.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Eddie and Bob understand what boxing is. It's tribalism. So market your boys to their people.
Yeah.
Get a grassroots organization there. The rest will follow.
I'm with
You
that.
could turn it into a thing. You fucking call up Valerie Loretta. Hey, Valerie, here's some tickets. We want you to come to the fight to get everybody horny. She'll sit ringside. Shout out to Valerie Loretta. And it'll just be Cuban night, Habana nights. You call it that with Andy Cruz and David Morrell. You know what I mean? And no, that kid is Mexican, I think. The kid, Elon Musk, ain't he Mexican?
Who?
Mark Castro, the kid that looked like Elon Musk.
I think
Elon Musk.
his parents are Mexican American.
Yeah, you can have him on there. Motherfuckers don't know nothing.
If Benavidez can be Ecuadorian, he can be Cuban.
Yeah, you fucking right. If an Ecuadorian could be Mexican, then a Mexican could be Cuban, bro. Havana Nights, and you have Mark Castro in that shit, bro. It could be some shit, man. Because his career is gonna die on the vine. If he stays at the PBC, yeah, your career is gonna die. It is, and that'd be a shame because he could fight. He knocked people out. That'd be a shame.
Well, luckily PBC will probably die before it comes to that because they ain't lasting the year. They are not lasting the year.
I really don't see them beyond this year, right? It's gonna be curious to see, okay, who's gonna be on these shows? How many shows are you gonna do by year's end? And that'll tell us whether or not they can survive. Personally, looking at it now, I don't think they survive after this year. I don't. There's too little. It's too little. And this is just the first wave of fighters that decided to leave. There are gonna be more.
You know what's messed up? This time of the year when they announced that first schedule. Oh man, yeah, we're taking over. Eddie's done. Torek done. Yeah, they announced Ryan and Tank, Errol and Crawford. Yeah, it was all good just a week ago.
You know what I'm saying? They thought he saved the shit, yo. They was like, yo, this is the greatest year in the history of PBC ever.
All they did was destroy Derek James's entire stable.
Exact. That's what really came out of that. PBC fighters getting it, with the exception of Ryan, but shit, that's what really happened. Like PBC guys got their ass beat. I mean, like at least they went out with a bang, right? Right? Because it's you know what I mean? Like, I don't see how you can sustain if Canelo left, which he did. So now the biggest draw you have is Javante, except he's not a draw by himself. And it ain't a bunch of Ryan Garcias lying around for him to fight. It ain't. What the fuck is he gonna do?
And more than that, Jules, unlike Matchroom, unlike Top Rank, they don't have a series of not stars, but popular fighters who in certain areas can draw a crowd, get ratings, and keep business sustainable. They just have Tank and nobody else.
See, when you have a Oscar Valdez, for example, No, he's not a pay-per-view star, but he draws well in Arizona. He does. Draws well in Arizona. He's not scared to take hard fights, fights that he might lose. And they have guys like that. They're like, yeah, you got a lot of guys that depending on where you put them, they'll sell some tickets and they'll put on a good show. Whereas these guys now, you just got a bunch of dudes in their mid-30s that want a lot of fucking money and they don't be fighting, but they want a lot of money. Like, hey, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, do something with Charlo though. Come on, you can make
Bro, get
Plant
that
versus
fucking dude
Charlo.
in a
You
Betty
could do
Ford Center.
something or let him go. Fire him. Make a big old press announcement and say Charlo is shit. You let him go.
They need to let the fact that he's still in the stable in the condition that he's in is already ridiculous. The fact that the fact y'all put on Robert Guerrero versus Andre Berto 2 last year, like
Yeah.
y'all crazy over there, yo. Y'all like who you putting this on for, bro?
I
Are
mean,
you
the first
paying
fight
them?
wasn't even on the PBC, man. That was that's probably Golden Boy.
Oye, ¿y qué le están pagando a WBC for him to keep his belt?
That's the other thing. If he still has a belt, that's not by accident. That's because somebody is bribing the WBC not to strip him. How much money have you frittered away so that he could keep that belt? Just for him to be all drugged out and shit. Because he drugged out.
Yo,
It's the PBC protection program,
Did Calvin
Jules.
give a reason? Did Calvin give a reason why the tank Frank Mir
They-
fight?
No, let me send it to you. I'll send it to you right now.
They pay money to keep people from not fighting each other. They pay money for people to step aside. They pay money to the promotions to not strip the champions. They pay so much money to do everything else except fight. It's ridiculous. How can the business survive?
How do I get the link? How do I get the fucking link? It's on Instagram. There it is. Is that it? All right. Yeah. I got this shit. Share to copy. I'm gonna send it to your DM beats.
All right, nice one.
Though I do want to say, if there's a single fight that probably marked the downfall of the PBC, I want to ask your opinion about this, Jules. I think it was Thurman Pacquiao. Because
possibly, yes. Yes. Possibly. I wonder what they paid Manny to do that fight versus what it brought in. It did do robust numbers, but I can't tell you if it broke even because I don't know what they gave Manny. I don't know. They overshot it with Wilder. The fight, I'll say this. The fight that stands out to me is not that fight. It's Wilder Fury 2. The relationship with Fox got sour after that fight because Fox lost money on that fight. Y'all overshot that shit by way too much. Y'all lost a lot of money, and that's on top of Wilder getting his fucking ass beat. This was supposed to be one of the flagship fighters. He got destroyed. And so the flagship fighter gets destroyed, and you lost our money? The relationship, it's after that, if you're paying attention, it was after that that you started seeing Fox pull away. It was right after that. Now, it didn't help that COVID, everything got shut down, but that's when you started seeing, okay, they gave the shoulder programming the axe. The budget is getting smaller. More and more shows are ending up on pay-per-view because Fox is not giving them no money. That's why there was so many pay-per-views on Fox. It's like, well, we're not giving you no money, so we'll let you use the platform, but we're not going to pay for that shit. We ain't giving you. And they took a cut. They took a cut out of that shit. Like, if something come in, we taking a cut. Shout out to Accordionista. Is it me or does Samson give used car salesman vibes? Yeah, he does. Shit is crazy, yo. Well, look, on that note,
He
ladies and
gives me
gentlemen,
Pinocchio vibes.
he gives me like don't leave your girl around him vibes. He's like a
Yeah.
creep, like he's like a creep, like he's a creepy dude. On that note, I'm gonna end this live. It's been real, I'm gonna go eat some pork chops because I got these pork chops I want to put in the air fryer. Shout out to y'all.
Thanks for having us, Jules.